right, we're live. We're having all kinds of problems. Bats, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I just had to turn on my audio.
Okay, so Doc was right. All
I'm
right.
here.
Welcome everybody to the Comics
I am
Aficionados.
a millennial, but
I'm your host,
a boomer.
And Doc is well, not Doc. Bats is boomering up the stream already.
And he's on like the 6-second radio delay.
Yeah, he's on a delay. We're waiting on Pele. He's a little older, so he slept in. It happens. What are you gonna do? So, welcome everybody. Today we got a great panel for you. We're gonna be talking Doomsday Clock number 11. We're gonna talk Spawn 300, rumors of a Black Batman in 2020, and then we'll probably hit up House of X number 4 as well at the end. I think everyone's dying to hear what Doc has to say about that one. All right, let's do the panel. Dylan from the Real Comic Book Gamer YouTube. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Got some good comics this week, though.
Yeah, it was a good week. The last 2 weeks have actually both been really good. So, are you feeling better? I know you missed out on your Comic-Con last weekend.
Yeah, I'm feeling better. Missed PAX West last week, but feeling better this week. So glad to be here.
Nice. All right. Also with us, we got my faithful co-host Doc. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. I'm just I got Windows put in the other day, so it's getting. I haven't even put together my nerd room yet. I had to take everything down while they did that. So that's another weekend project.
Wow, your shrine isn't up anymore.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're naked. All right, finally. Next we got Lance. We haven't seen you in like 2-3 months.
I was on a couple weeks ago, but yeah, I've been like the white tiger. I haven't been around very much. Been slinging a lot of drinks for a lot of drunk Wisconsinites. So
it's football season, so business is about to pick up.
Badger game today, unfortunately.
All right, last but not least, Bats. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you, bud?
I'm doing real good. We're all glad to see that you finally came back to your YouTube channel. I thought you retired, but you made your triumphant return with was that a Tim Lim Walmite comic review?
It was. And then when I return, I come back and you have no hair.
Yeah,
I'm very shocked.
My son called me a ninny muffins and I couldn't handle it, so I shaved my head. He dared me. But no, it's just really hot here, so I decided to take it off. It was only about 3 years worth of work.
Yeah, it'll grow.
Yes, there's an echo. Does someone have the show playing like on a device or something that's not muted?
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of that radio when the person calls into the radio show and then has it on their car.
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah.
So I already closed out your stuff. Is it gone?
Nope,
still hear it.
All right. My assumption is that it's Bats, but
I kind of think so too.
But it's.
I don't think so.
I just closed out everything.
I mean, I have the stream playing so I could read the comments, but the volume's all the way down. And
wait, I think it's gone. Nope.
Still there.
All right. Maybe. Do I have something open?
It could be coming from the inside, Wes.
That wind sound is not me today.
No,
it's coming from inside the house.
All right, so we have a little bit of an echo. I apologize. We've had some comms issues. Hopefully, it clears up, in short order. But we're here to talk about Doomsday Clock. Bats, you read, 7 issues of Doomsday Clock yesterday to prepare for the stream?
I did, yeah.
All right, so what did you think about Doomsday Clock number 11?
It's all kind of a blur now. But because I was just like, well, so I basically, once they were like, there's going to be delays. And then so I like didn't read Doomsday Clock. I just let them stack. And so then I was like, oh man, I can't be a putz and not know what they're talking about in issue 11. But I just watched a review and pretty much that's how I feel. Like, it's just DC 2019 is just a doofus of a company. That's what they should be called. They should be Doofus Company now. Because
you got that out of reading Doomsday Clock 11?
I think you got it from my review.
No, I got it. Doomsday Clock 11 was just fine for being Doomsday Clock 11.
Mm-hmm.
But the crap part of it all is that you're like, oh well, nothing matters because it's DC 2019. So there's going to be a cool epic fight where Manhattan and Superman fight each other. But, you know, year of the villain, you know.
This doesn't.
We all got,
I don't know. I don't think this ties into any of that stuff.
I think Doomsday Clock works just fine if you don't read any other DC comics.
Well, it cannot tie into Year of the Villain because everybody died on Mars. The Doctor of Manhattan evaporated the entire Justice League, and there's only 3 heroes left on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The Trinity.
Yeah,
so
basically,
it cannot possibly tie into Year of the Villain.
That's not true because actually, I'll bring up the quote from Scott Snyder here in a little bit, but we'll just talk about Doomsday Clock 11. Dylan, I know you've been a huge fan of the series. I thought Doomsday Clock number 9 was excellent. I thought number 10 was damn near perfect. It was a 5 out of 5 book for me. I thought 11 took a step back. What were your thoughts?
I still really liked 11. I agree 10 is probably like the pinnacle so far, but I really liked 11, still seeing how Ozymandias set everything up to manipulate everyone again. I thought was perfect, and his scene with Saturn Girl was great. And apparently I heard from people that read Bendis' Legion of Superheroes that tied into that a little bit. The whole part where she actually doesn't exist because Superman doesn't remember her. And then that ending page was great. Just seeing Superman and Manhattan finally confront each other. Now we gotta wait like 6 months till the next issue. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every issue of Doomsday Clock so far, and while it wasn't as good as issue 10, it's still really good.
Yeah, it was good. Like I think this is probably the weakest comic of the entire series, but the entire series has been like 4.5 5-star books. This is the first one I was like, this one's just like a 4 out of 5. Like it's just a really, really good comic book. So it probably sounds like I disliked a lot more than I did. I actually liked the book a lot. It just wasn't. I thought the first half meandered. What did you think? Because it felt like they were just rehashing information we already knew.
I feel like that you kind of have to do that with all the delays, though, unless you're like Bats and you're just reading it all at once. Then you might forget, because I know there's definitely some things that I've forgotten. There's some things that they'll mention that I forgot about. Like, I forgot about the fact that he had Saturn Girl until he goes to her. I was like, oh yeah, he's got Saturn Girl in prison. But yeah, I was fine with that. I really liked what he did with Rorschach's character in this, because that was one of the things when the book first came out that I didn't like, because it felt kind of stupid how they just brought in Rorschach. They're like, oh, we don't have Rorschach, so we'll create a new one. But in this one, it made more sense about how Rorschach came to be and how he was manipulated and all this other stuff by Ozymandias. I enjoyed that a lot more. It made me appreciate this Rorschach more than when the book first came out. I just thought he was just stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they made his origin pretty tragic, to be completely honest. Like, he's basically just an enormous putz.
Yeah.
Well, he's a patsy. He's been used and abused hard. All right, so Pele, you made it. I'm so sorry. I guess you were sitting in the queue for.
Yeah, I've been on for like almost 10 minutes, and nobody's seen me, heard me, or whatever. And I'm sitting there going, "What the fuck is going on?"
Language. I am so sorry with this with the StreamYards. I can see the top 5 or 4 people, but you were like you're stacked below, and I did not see you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I almost went back to bed. I was like, "Oh, hell with this." You know, I'm back to bed. I don't. If I want abuse, I can go to work.
Hey, I barely talked any crap about you. All right, so did you read Doomsday Clock number 11 yet?
No, I have not read it yet. I was going to read it last night and I fell asleep. I did get to read Spawn 300, but it's been very positive. People tell me basically it's like they felt it was kind of a step down from 10, kind of like, but they feel like it's setting up. It's. I saw a couple of the panels from it. They say it's kind of setting up for it's winding up for the finality. And people are. I've seen stuff like people talking about how one-man army could be like involved in it. OMAC could be involved in it. So
that'd be cool.
Because you get the OMAC symbol there at the end of the, is it the last panel right there where Superman and then all.
I didn't even know.
And that's like, yeah, it's got the OMAC symbol right there. It's like, holy crap, what the hell?
It went right over my head then. I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Well, yeah, and especially since the whole kind of undertone premise is that the U.S. government created the Superman.
Right.
So yeah. So that's definitely a freaking really cool idea, man.
You've got like this could just like, because everybody, as soon as everybody saw that, they dove into my OMAC bins, and my OMAC just disappeared. All my issue 1s and through 10 of OMAC just disappeared out of my back issue bins because it's an inexpensive back issue. It's not that expensive. So
is it good?
Yeah, no, it's
so.
Well, I mean, it's Kirby. It's good original Kirby stuff. It was always kind of like he's a badass. He's like a government-made Superman.
He is a one-man army corps.
Yeah.
Hey, do you see the question on the screen?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I realized that after the comic came out, and OMAC went boom. And now the values of them gone through the roof. I've still got several runs in the back, but yeah, all of my mid-grade copies got pillaged out of the boxes.
I'm still waiting for my copies of the NAM to jump. So,
all right. So, friend of the channel, Eric Breen says, just to subvert expectations, Bendis will have Oma join the Legion, but give him a full head of hair. What do you think?
I thought he already had a full head of hair.
What? I don't think so.
He's got like the
mohawk. He had the mohawk.
Right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the last time I saw him, he had like the mohawk. He had the mohawk that was so big it drooped over to the side and like came to his shoulder or something like that. It's like but anyhow, yeah, it's weird. It's really bizarre. I don't know if anybody saw anything like that coming. So
Pele, I do want to have one question for you. Like, with all the delays, Doomsday Clock still ships like over 120,000 comics an issue. How is it that's happening? Because everything else seems to have an enormous drop off every issue, but Doomsday Clock, which has these frustrating delays, just stays there.
Okay, yeah, because everybody has it on their pull list. It's like it's the number one comic in my shop on everybody's pull list. Everybody wants it. It's like 90% of the people in the comic book shop have it on their pull list, and everybody else, is waiting for it. So it doesn't matter how long it's going to take to go out. The back orders are going to be huge for it. So, because everybody's waiting for it. Everybody's waiting for it to finish up. Everybody's waiting for the next issue. They're all excited to get it, and it doesn't matter how long it's going to take to get out. That each issue is going to sell big when it finally does.
Pele, are you seeing an uptick in Rebirth special prices because of all the massive tie-ins into Doomsday Clock? It really reads like a prequel to Doomsday Clock now, especially with the Luthor watching Wally and Barry hug each other.
Yeah, that's somewhat. People going back and getting some of the previous issues of some series. But man, it's a shame, isn't it? it's a real kick in the nuts. If that had come out on time and when it was supposed to,
Yeah, it doesn't have the same weight now because Wally did all the other stuff thanks to Tom King.
yeah,
murdered everyone
because he destroyed everything. I mean, it's
supposed to be a great moment.
This could have been like the pivotal moment for DC in this decade. You know, it could have been like the defining series in the entire, in the entire label. You know, all of DC. This could have defined comics for the teens, for the 2000 teens, but it didn't. And I think that's because of King. I think it's because of King and Bendis, and they want to do their own thing. And they say, "Oh, if you do this, then it's going to screw with whatever hell we want to put Batman through, and how we want to mess up Superman." So,
well, yeah, and it's also Dark Knight's Metal. You know, that took DC Comics in a completely different direction from Rebirth. Essentially, the trade dress went away, and Rebirth ended at that moment.
Right.
Is the era of the dark multiverse right now, and like evil version of heroes all over the place.
Well, I think the only reason Scott Snyder's trying to tie his stuff into Doomsday Clock is to just increase his own sales, because there's nothing. The Doomsday Clock is not written for the current DC universe. It's written for the next DC universe, and it's written to be read 20 years from now. Like, Geoff Johns didn't write this thinking, "Oh, what's Brian Bendis doing this week?" He doesn't give a shit about that. He wants to write an all-time great story, and that's what he's doing. And he's taking his time, but he's doing it. Like, there's no way he can write a maxi series like this in 2 years and have it tie into all the crap that Bendis and all these other people are doing. Like, they can tie into his stuff, but he can't tie into that.
All right, so if people are wondering what Lance is talking about, he's talking about Scott Snyder in an interview with Newsarama. He said, "We're all working in one big tapestry. What Geoff Johns is doing in Doomsday Clock is definitely going to inform what we're doing here. And think what Brian Michael Bendis is doing with Millennium is a big part of the story that we're trying to coordinate with. We definitely want you to feel like, as you read these, that they are connections, that they make sense, and that they tie together and all of that. If you're patient with us and just wait and see, some of the connections and some of the ties are going to come in later when we explain how things cross over from one neighborhood of the DCU to another." I don't believe this at all. I don't think any of this was coordinated, and that's why DC Comics feels so discombobulated right now. What do you think about that, Dylan? Do you believe Scott Snyder that they're coordinating all these events?
No, I think there'll be like little, like maybe one-page things where it's like, oh, that's somewhat connected, sort of like half-assed things, but not like, oh, we're coordinated to make sure everything is going in line with this. It seems like DC feels kind of directionless right now, because you have Tom King doing his thing, you have Snyder doing his thing, you have Bendis doing his thing, then you have Johns doing his thing. And so you have like all these big heads kind of like doing their own thing, and DC's like, cool, do what you want, but it doesn't really work considering how the continuity is right now and how like everything's taking place at different times. I don't think they actually have like an overarching plan. I think it's kind of just, here's like one panel that references a thing from Doomsday Clock, so see, it's connected, guys. I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's like a Crisis on. It's like Crisis on Infinite Earths back, when it came out. That type of connectedness, where the only crossover and the only thing in the entire, in this one series that you could tell was involved with Crisis because the sky was green. That's it. The whole rest of the thing was a different story entirely. It's just, oh look, we're involved in the Crisis. The sky is green. So
Red.
And he probably said, "Hey, Tom King, you can have Batman find a button. That's it. None of your other stuff is going to tie into this."
And with DC telling us to be patient is like saying, okay, yeah, just go ahead and spend like $400 over the next year for us to pay off a story in the long run, So it's like,
but
that is not financially worth it for them just to be like what Dylan's saying is being like, oh, here's a page or a panel that connects it all. Like, no, you guys can go F yourselves, and I will drop all your books except Doomsday Clock and Snyder.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I pretty much will drop your entire line except the ones that aren't in your
But
line.
it's such a self-contained series. Where are you spending $400? Like, this is like
Well, no,
probably a $70 series because it's $5 an issue. So
Lance,
60.
you missed my entire point. Snyder and all them are saying, be patient with us. It's all going to pay off in the end. Doomsday Clock is not intended to be a self-contained story. They're saying it's all going to pay off in Batman
It'll
and
be
Superman.
the precursor to the next relaunch.
Well,
It's
I
what's
don't
gonna
even
happen.
think it's going to be a relaunch. Like, I believe that Doomsday Clock is the sequel to Watchmen and will be a self-contained
It's
thing, but
not.
kind of bleeded.
It's a Crisis on Infinite Earths type of moment. This is not a sequel to Watchmen. This is a DC event.
Well, I
Like, it
understand
totally
that, but
reads
it
like
is
a DC
sequel,
event.
Yeah.
but
should
it
be.
is a
It is
sequel
not
to
a
Watchmen.
Watchmen sequel. Because before Watchmen was a Watchmen prequel. This is not a Watchmen sequel. This is a DC event with Watchmen characters.
So let me get this straight. So the characters from Watchmen appear in a further timeline from the ending of Watchmen. They reappear from the post ending of Watchmen. So that doesn't make it a
It's
sequel.
a plot
to Watchmen.
device. That's a plot device.
I don't think it's
Like,
mutually
not every
exclusive. It can
Superman
be
story
both.
is a sequel to whatever happened to the Kid Crusader or the Man of Tomorrow. It's not all a sequel to that. Like, it's a different. You know how many timelines there is in DC? There's like 6 different
No, I
timelines.
understand. No,
This is all
I
just a
understand, but
big event comic.
you're literally the first person ever to say it's not a sequel to Watchmen when it's literally
It's
a sequel
not.
to Watchmen.
It's a Crisis event. Like, this is as much a Crisis book as it is a Watchmen sequel.
All right.
It's
Tom,
both.
what was your point?
Let's say it's not mutually exclusive. It's both. It's an event. It's a DC event, and it's a sequel to Watchmen. It clearly opens up, showing, hey, everything Ozymandias did at the end of Watchmen, his whole point, to like save everyone while doing a bad deed, it became uncovered. People figured it out. So that's a big point to being a sequel to Watchmen. But at the same time, we're learning the history of like the DC metaverse, and we're setting everything up for the future of the DC universe. So it's obviously a DC event. It's both. It doesn't have to just be a Watchmen sequel, or it doesn't just have to be a DC event. It's both. It's clearly both. It's not mutually exclusive.
So
Isn't Ozymandias in this? I mean,
yes,
Yeah.
he's a villain.
so it can't be a sequel because Watchmen ended with him getting killed.
No, that was Rorschach.
Well,
No, yeah,
so-
Rorschach.
That he got. That's right. That's right. It's been so long since
Yeah.
I've read that. That's right. I thought Ozymandias also got killed at the end of it.
But the comedian definitely got killed, and he's in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. He got
But
thrown
that
out the
was-
window.
And
That was
Rorschach,
Manhattan.
I
that's
hope
the
that
thing, it's like,
I'll be interested to see if Rorschach's around, because I don't know if he's like a force that he's guiding this Reggie character, or if he is actually around and just lurking around in the background the whole 11 issues and we didn't notice. Because that's kind of how his character is in the first one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's everybody was shocked to see him. Think about it. Think about in the backstory for the Watchmen, how everybody was shocked to see him because they were always like, they knew he was around, they know he was doing shit, but they didn't know where he was, what he was doing, and nobody had actually seen him for years. So it's almost like this is right before Watchmen finished. This is like what's going on. The effects of going on in this series is like maybe even going on concurrently with the Watchmen storyline.
It could be a whole split timeline. Like,
Yep. Oh wow, that's messed. That's
It's the Watchmen multiverse.
Yeah, it's entering the multiverse because Dr. Manhattan discovers it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts tinkering it with it. He's like, well, now I'm here. I need to experiment. Oh, I see this guy. What if I do this? What happens to him? If I do this, what happens to him?
I think also that there's a separate
is centered around Superman and his arrival on Earth is a big thing. So he sees like his confrontation with Superman is like his ultimate test, right? At least that's the way I'm taking it.
Yeah, and that's when he can't see past. He doesn't know what happens after Superman. So we're gonna find out in issue 12. I can't wait.
And there's also things that Manhattan's doing that he's not aware of, which is the 12 dropped photographs that are replicates. Like, so you're talking about, is there other variations of Manhattan on Earth that he doesn't even know about? Like, or is this 12 different Earths? Or I'm just trying to understand that. I'm still, probably in the next issue it'll be explained, but like, because I don't know, it's just every time he materializes, he's not going to drop a photograph. So I don't know how that works exactly, but I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, apparently every time he changes something, creates a new timeline, he leaves a piece of himself behind, which is that photograph.
So there's 12 timelines?
Well, I mean, from the looks of the picture, there's about 100 of them.
Or is there? Okay, I'd have to look at it again.
That thing looked like a lot to me. So, Dylan, what did you think about the revelation that Lex Luthor is aware? Well, he's not aware that it's Dr. Manhattan, but he's aware something is there, changing reality over and over again because he's discovered all these identical pictures being left behind.
I liked it. I like seeing this Lex and not Apex Lex that we have right now. I think the whole I like Snyder, but his whole thing with you're the villain and Apex Lex is so stupid. So I'm happy to see this Lex actually out there, not someone that's just trying to appease Perpetua or whatever her name is. So having him be the puppet that can see the strings was really cool, and actually like being aware of it, because generally like that guy is Batman, and so having it be Lex was cool. And especially because I remember at a panel like right before Doomsday Clock started, Geoff Johns came out and said like officially that Lex Luthor is the smartest guy in the DC universe, and pissed off a lot of Batman fans. So it was cool to actually see him have Lex do something, because for the rest of this series, Lex hasn't really done much. He kind of got like shot earlier and then was out for the entirety of the book, and now he's back, and seeing how he's trying to figure everything out and reveal it to Lois was really cool. And I'm excited to see whatever he does in the final issue. But yeah, I like seeing more classic Lex instead of Apex Lex.
So before we get to the Apex Lex, I do want to talk about that. What did you think about his assertion that he was like the center of the universe?
That was so great.
That
was one of the best lines I've ever read. Like what a great moment.
Talking about when he's talking about how him and Superman are doomed on their loop.
No, he's talking about there's one person that's at the center of all of this, and he says, and it's me.
Oh, yeah.
And he shows her all the pictures, like, what a self-centered. Like,
I love it. He doesn't even think of Superman. He thinks of himself. It's so Lex Luthor, though. It's like such a perfect moment. It's one of those things that pretty much only Geoff Johns does, because he understands the character so well. I love it. I love that moment.
I was like, is Geoff Johns trying to tell me something? And I was like, no, I think Lex is just really conceited right there. So
he's a narcissist.
Yeah, it was a perfect Lex Luthor moment.
It was so good.
I did like that deduction. He's the smartest man in the world, but he can't see what's right in front of him.
Yeah,
because it doesn't involve him.
Exactly. So. Like that was the whole thing with John Byrne's run when he found out that he had that machine that figured out that Clark Kent was Superman, but it couldn't, like, his mind was like, no, like all powerful alien that is so arrogant that goes around and saves anyone would pretend to be a farm boy that's like this klutz of a reporter. No one would do that, and he like trashed the machine. He's like, no, it's wrong, and he told his lead scientist it's wrong. It's like it's perfect because he's the smartest guy, but then he does that because his own hubris.
So I do want to talk about the current year, the villain stuff, and just my thoughts on. We're not going to talk about very long. We'll get right back on Doomsday Clock. But the way that I see it is the Batman Who Laughs, whether you enjoy it or not, because that series wasn't bad. But all the stuff that's going on is like high school kid fanfic. It's what three nerds would talk about at school lunch, on their break. Like, oh, and what if Batman became the Joker? I'm like, oh yeah, man, that would be dope. And what if he ripped off Hawkman's wings and put him on his own back? And that's what Year of the Villain feels like, is just bad high school fanfic that somehow has been turned into a line-wide event that's ruining DC Comics.
I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it. It's really that bad.
Well, a lot of Scott Snyder's stuff has been that bad for a while. Like, I love Last Night, but that year-long run of Jim Gordon in the bunny suit was horrible.
That was when I stopped reading his New 52 Batman, because I loved his New 52 Batman. When that happened, After Endgame, I was like, I'm checking out.
He had a 50-story tall plant man made of flowers attacking Gotham, and Gordon in a bunny suit fighting him. It was the dumbest thing I ever saw. It had great art, but it sucked.
Well, I think that he's just I think that he gets some really good. I think he gets some really good herbs sometimes, and I do. I think he gets some really good herbs sometimes, and he just like, hey, what if? Yeah, man, we could do. So yeah,
Like,
I think he's a high school kid that needs an editor to go, all right, we're thinking too big now. Let's dial it in. It's something doable, but basically I think there's no strings on him. He's just, and it's all of them. It's King and Bendis too, but I think Snyder's stuff is just like, yeah, it's I mean, the Batman who looks kind of cool, but if you really think about it, it's a stupid character.
Yep.
It doesn't really offer anything to Batman. It's like a good Elseworlds maybe, but like it ties into 3 ongoing series right now, and it's so like mediocre. There's no reason to drudge up this character in 50 issues in 1 year. Like, it's crazy.
What, baby?
It's just, I don't care. I don't care. If I see that Batman Superman series, I'm like, I'm not touching it, because I don't want to read a 12-issue series about Batman who lulls. Like, it's just crap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that too is that Batman Superman book holds no merit because it's a sequel to a sequel and it's a tie-in to a tie-in, and there's no jump-on point to it at all unless you were like reading all the other books to it, and it's just like more Batman Who Laughs, and it's been like he's been around since metal.
And if
just
Superman
like,
cared enough, he'd take
it.
care of him anyway.
Well, they just
Like,
DC is not letting that character, go back into the sidelines and work on other stories. They're just like Batman Who Laughs, pump that out, pump it out, and now we're getting too many Batman Who Laughs. There's a Superman Who Laughs and a Shazam Who Laughs, and everyone's gonna be laughing when no one's buying the DC books anymore.
yeah, that's basically.
So I thought Batman Superman would have been good if DC didn't spoil everything in the book that was cool. Because the first so many pages are just rehash of everything that's happened. Then everything that cool happens is like, this has been spoiled for months.
Yeah, I like the book. I agree though. Like, I saw all those pages on Twitter just before the book came out. Like, they kept promoting it with like new pages. I still really enjoyed the book. I thought it was good. And one of the things I was really happy about it that I wish Marvel would take a cue from was they got a top tier artist on the book, to where Marvel will like premiere a new great book and it'll be the crummiest artist you've ever seen, to where this art was actually pretty good. So I was happy that it's a Batman Superman book and they got a pretty good artist on it as well. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Even on the art.
I thought Dave Marquez was great. I hope he does a Superman book
Dylan, you
in the
literally
future. I thought he was great.
You literally just went from top tier artist to that was pretty good.
Well,
like in a matter of a sentence, but
who's pretty good?
Big problem. A guy that no one remembers his name, Alex something.
You talking about Alex Maleev from Event Leviathan?
No, the
Alex Maleev.
Dave Marquez is on Batman.
Yeah, David Marquez.
Yeah, Dave Marquez is pretty good.
Yeah, he came over from Marvel. He's good. He's a good artist. Superman was excellent.
Sorry, guys, but he is not top tier.
Yeah,
no, but he's very good.
He's really good. I'll tell you what.
Compared to today, I would say,
yeah. Today's market
crop of artists. He's in the top 10, I would say. In the current.
Well, my big issue too. Yeah. My big issue with the Superman Batman story or Batman Superman is that it's not earned. The writer, even though he's a good author, he's the guy who writes Flash in an Image book. He's not like Jeff Loeb, who had a few years on Superman and has sold 3 Batman books that never go out of print. And then
is there a Josh Williamson Flash book that an Image?
The writer
on Flash forever.
He's talking about Birthright.
I thought that was more of a fantasy book, like a sword in the stone type of thing.
It's an Image book. I'm saying he's known for the Flash and an indie comic. He's not a guy who's earned his right to be writing the top 2 characters at DC.
But this is a spin-off title. I'd give him this.
Well, I
Like,
think
I feel-
he's part of Scott Snyder's crew. It's him
It's
and
not
Tinian.
like the title Batman Superman is some great comic
And there's,
that
like,
lives on in the annals of history of comics.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
it's
know.
a decent comic.
I think that Jeff Loeb run is probably the best Batman Superman run there is when it comes to world's finest stories.
I agree, but ever since Jeff Loeb, it's been varying quality. Like like Jeff Loeb did a great job. Then after that, it was very up and down. Then New 52 was very up and down. Yeah, like there was no like hardcore. Like this is the quality of this title every time.
It Batman Superman kind of reminded me of the way that Astonishing X-Men, the last long run, went.
Yeah.
Where it started off with Loeb and McGinnis, and then Loeb and Turner, and then Loeb and Churchill, and then back to Loeb and McGinnis, and then it went to like Fred Van Lente and was fucking on that.
I haven't liked Astonishing since Whedon left.
But I'm talking about the Batman Superman, and then with Astonishing, it went from Whedon and Cassaday to Ellis and Simone Beyond. I can't pronounce his damn name. But then it went down to, like Marjorie Liu and Chris Gage. And
then it was canceled.
And then it ended up canceled. Yeah. So they start it with a great team, an iconic team, and then it just dwindles from there. And honestly, if this is what they're starting Batman Superman with, call it a 6-issue miniseries and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
It's
thing
supposed to be
is, too,
ongoing.
Yeah, supposed to be.
We'll see.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, it's like, after Loeb left, he had 6 graphic novels attached to it. And then it kind of dwindled away and kind of just ended, right? It went on for like 10, 12.
But I mean, that's like the natural attrition of comics. That's
the
every
problem,
series that gets launched.
Well, that's the problem. Joshua Williamson is not on the level of a Jeff Loeb.
Well, yeah, they can't pay him. They can't pay Jeff Loeb to come in and write a comic anymore.
I'm not
He's
saying
too
that.
expensive.
We need someone on Batman Superman who is a top tier writing talent.
Who doesn't get paid much. Good luck finding him.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel
unless a book sells like probably 60,000 consistently, they're not going to be able to get a top tier talent there.
Williamson isn't on Loeb's level. I feel like you're underselling him pretty hard. He's been on Flash for a while, and Flash has been consistently selling pretty decently, and he has a lot of fans. It's not like he's just someone that everyone hates and thinks is terrible. Flash is a pretty solid writer.
Flash has dropped below the point where the creators get any residuals.
Right. Yeah, Flash is holding steady, like at about 45 to 50,000, and then like a year ago it just tanked. I think it just dipped under 30.
Yeah, that's it has nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with Howard Porter leaving.
Well, and also it had to do with Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah,
and then jettisoning off
that was
Wally. But like the whole middle tier of DC Comics, which was like completely stacked with your Hal Jordan and Green Lantern Corps, your Aquaman, all that stuff, it just completely disappeared. All you have now are the Justice League books. Everything else is just tanked or was canceled. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Ash is saying I haven't read Batman Superman, and that's right. I refuse to read it because there's far better Batman Superman books out there. And it's not under the Didio destruction of the company.
All right.
Sorry, I'm not going to spend $4 on a book that I'm not going to enjoy.
Well, if you watch my review, it's a perfectly average book, and you probably save your money, especially if you're not interested in Year of the Villain.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's what I took away from it.
I don't think anybody is interested in Year of the Villain. Nobody comes into the shop saying they're excited about Year of the Villain. Everybody's like, when is this shit gonna be over?
I dropped every single ongoing DC book I had because of Year of the Villain banners on top of it. I'm done. I don't even want to read any of these, especially after we did Hawkman.
The Detective Comics tie-ins have been laughable. Like, you finish reading the comic, and it says, "You're the villain, the offer, the deal," like all the stuff on the cover. and then you finish the story, has nothing to do with you or the villain, and then there's 2 pages of Mr. Freeze and his wife going like, "It's almost time."
It's because
Like,
Tommasi's a smart man and saw
Yeah.
the writing on the wall. It's like, I'm not buying into this.
I love Tomasi for that.
and Mr. Freeze has been
Sure,
on
I'll
the
tie it
cover
in.
of the last 3 issues that all feature Deadshot. Like, what are they doing? It's like, he's not in this. He's not the villain of this issue. Like, I just don't get it. Like, and then they removed the banner off of the Superman titles again in November.
Yeah, I think it's because Superman's tying in with Legion of Superheroes launch with Bendis.
Okay.
Mhm.
Bendis is one of the few people at DC that can go, yeah, take this Year the Villain stuff off my book. I don't like it. Yes, Mr. Bendis. Would you like a coffee? Yes. I would like a coffee. Thank you.
Can we
I
wash
must-
your taint? Oh,
I think I struck a nerve now. Ash is saying Williamson wrote the button with Tom King. He's saying it was just Joshua Williamson. No, it was also Tom King, and under the direction.
I
of Geoff
believe
Johns.
Tom King co-wrote the first issue and then just bowed out. And he said Williamson could finish it.
it
Well,
was under the direction of Geoff Johns telling them what they can and can't do.
I don't even think Geoff Johns talked to either of them. I don't think he talks to anybody at DC anymore. He's just like,
Yeah.
leave me alone. Stay out of my sandbox. This is my stories, and the rest of you, that's not my deal.
all right. Big shout out to the Real Comic Stacks. Just went over 1K subscribers on YouTube. Great guy, great friend of the channel. We all love him. Thank you so much for dropping by, and congratulations on 1K. We are all rooting for you, and we're glad you made it there, my brother. So, as far as Joshua Williamson wrote a good book once. Greg Pak wrote, and what's your point? It happens. Average writers write good books sometimes. Al Ewing's writing Immortal Hulk.
James
He got-
Robinson had an amazing 6-year run on Starman and did nothing good ever again.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes people get lucky. No, I think Williamson's actually a good writer. I don't think he's a great writer. I think
I would agree. Yeah.
he's a worthy talent to put on a good book like Flash or Batman, Superman. I think he's perfectly suited for that. But I wouldn't put him on Batman or anything important. That's just me.
That's true.
Yeah. And, I do
He's
keep
not a big
Ash, I
idea
do keep
guy.
hearing things about Birthright, but
Ash is
What's up?
ranting right. Not Ash. Bats is ranting right now, but we can't hear him.
what are you saying, Bats? My bad.
I forgot.
All right,
Apparently
so
here in
let's,
California.
we want to get back on the Doomsday Clock 11. There was the big reveal that Lex is aware of Dr. Manhattan's presence, and I don't know how that's exactly going to tie in. There was the great reveal of Ozymandias' plan, but he didn't reveal all of it. So what do you guys think about the revelation that Ozymandias' actions are actually changing the multiverse as well? Because of the way that he's manipulating things, eventually Saturn Girl disappears in front of his very eyes as he's talking smack to her. Did you guys think that was interesting, that he was able to manipulate the situation to where basically Manhattan's doing his bidding?
I loved it. I thought that Ozymandias speech was one of the all-time great villain speeches in comics, where he's like, she's giving him some lip from the cell, and he's timed it all out perfectly so that he can walk down the hall, explain his entire master plan while she disintegrates. That was amazing.
Well, I was half waiting for him to say, "And I did it 30 minutes ago." It was very reminiscent of the big speech from Watchmen. At least that's the way I took it.
I love that line where he says, "This world," because he says, "This world will be my tomb, and this tomb will be a monument to me," or something along those lines. And it just goes back into the Ozymandias being fascinated with Alexander the Great type of stuff that was from Watchmen, and is really true to the character. And I thought this just it's like reading when you have a different writer come in who fully understands characters that someone else created. Geoff Johns just hits this gear that just feels right, and I love it. I think it's fantastic.
So, I want to talk about this. So I think the biggest problem with Doomsday Clock is the enormous missed opportunity that it was, because it's supposed to represent the culmination of Rebirth and then launch DC into like a new age, right? But it kept getting delayed, and DC just went on a new direction. So you could see where Geoff Johns was taking DC and the way it was all going to connect together, and the way that he was going to launch it into something special, and it's not going to happen now.
Yeah, because Rebirth's been destroyed by everyone else that's coming in the meantime.
Yeah, and it's just so disappointing that Geoff Johns isn't a key creative figure at DC, where he's leading the ship, that he's been kind of put to the wayside, and then you have these idiots that are like the primary direction for DC now, and it's just like, no, go back. Like, we want, I need Dr. Manhattan to come and snap his finger, and we'll go back to Rebirth and finish it the way it was supposed to.
I wish. Yeah, I feel like it seems like Geoff Johns and Gary Frank have been like in a cave this whole time working on Doomsday Clock, and they come out like 3 years later and like, okay guys, we finished it, the perfect sort of sequel to DC Rebirth. And then Bendis is there, You're the Villain is happening, and you've got Tom King like with City of Bane, and Geoff Johns is just like, well, what happened during all this time? Like, he's been replaced by all these other people, and they're kind of ruining what has Rebirth built up so much goodwill. It's so weird if you go back to 2016 when Rebirth first happened and you see the difference between then and now. It's just, it sucks, all the goodwill that they ruined.
I was buying 22 DC comic series. I'm not talking specials or miniseries. I'm talking just series. I was buying 22 a month. I'm down to like 3.
Yep.
And it's all
You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
I can't believe it. I buy more Marvel now, and I don't even like Marvel. It's depressing. So Paley, you're saying that's not that's actually becoming a normal thing?
That is the norm. It's sad, but it's the norm. It's like everybody. Superman, of course, you know the story behind Superman. The fact that we're actually ordering it again because we had like 2 people that wanted to get back into it for whatever reason. But we went 3 months not even ordering Superman, and that's just, I'm like, wow, 3. I just can't imagine a comic book shop in any era being open and not getting Superman. But in Batman, which is now cut down to 40% of what it was when Rebirth launched, and just looking at sales numbers, it's so pathetic. DC has just been gutted. It's really sad, and I see the potential for it. If they would have just went with Geoff Johns' idea, and if the Doomsday Clock had its crossover and everything, this would have been an epic era for DC. But they let King and Bendis have their way, and now we have crap.
Well, also they had Black Label seemed like it was like the coolest idea I'd heard since Rebirth. I was like, this is amazing. But the cream of the crop, not having to write in DC continuity, to do whatever they want with the best characters, with the best artists. I was like, sign me up. I will buy every book. And now 3 different series in, and they just water it down. It's like, oh yeah, let's throw some YA artists on there. We'll give, Jeff Lemire's a good creator, but he's not one of the best writers,
right?
In DC like history. Why is he there with Frank Miller and Geoff Johns and Scott Snyder?
Plus, I'd just say he deserves to be there more than Frank Miller right now.
Wow.
Wait, what?
When was the last time Frank Miller wrote a good comic?
A couple weeks
Superman
ago.
Year One.
Wow, you crap on Superman, Batman, and talk about Superman Year One.
I know, I don't get it. Superman,
what is?
Superman Year One is so awful.
Lance, I can't give Lance a fist bump. So here.
I liked it. I thought the art was great, and it was silly.
God,
It was like a kid wrote it, but it was still fun to read.
See, I'm sort of in that vein where I read it the same way I read All-Star Batman Robin, where it's so bad it's good, because it's like if I actually read it as a serious Superman book, I'll go insane. But if I read it as it's terrible.
It's
the
goofy.
narration is just so all over the place.
It's schizophrenic.
I think Superman said like 5 words last time, and the rest was just all this weird narration, and went and banged Poseidon's daughter, who was sort of a throwback to John Byrne. It was
the reason why he's not a good Superman writer. I mean, I like the comic just as fun, but it's because he is a Raymond Chandler-esque writer who likes hard-boiled detective stuff, and so he should only be on those characters. So when he's writing a superhero like Superman, he really doesn't know how to get into that writing. He's not good at it. But I enjoyed it because it was goofy. That was about it.
If you like goofy comics, you should definitely pick up Superman.
I believe too that like a career like Frank Miller, of like a 50-year legend of comics, allots him to just do whatever he wants. And if Superman wants to get it on with a mermaid, more power to him.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of living. He's kind of living vicariously through Superman Year One. He's like, man, I would have liked to have banged a mermaid when I was that age.
Yeah, I can see that.
I read
how many
Alan Moore's recent what is that? The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Tempest.
Yeah. Oh,
it's one of the worst comic books I've ever read in my life.
Well, that's I've actually.
He's a great writer,
I've got a little inside baseball on Alan Moore. There's a buddy of mine whose sister works in a friend of a friend of a friend, but no, really, a friend of mine whose sister works in a mental hospital said that Alan Moore. I was gonna drop this as a bombshell for today. Alan Moore is in the early stages of dementia.
Well, that's a rumor. We don't want to spread that.
But he's now past the early stages of dementia, and they had him.
Confirm that. I don't want to talk about it on the channel because it's none of our business.
But I'm just saying that explains a lot of the writing.
Talk about it, man. That is not the purpose of the show.
Hey, let me just segue out of that. I just want to say Providence was my favorite comic book series ever by Alan Moore. It came out a couple years ago. Check it out.
Well, you said Cinema Purgatorio was good, right?
Yeah. I'm waiting for that to be collected into one volume, and that ended publication like 6 months ago. But that was an amazing anthology series.
Yeah, but my point is, just because someone was a great writer at one point doesn't mean that in the twilight of their years they still have it. And I don't think Frank Miller's got it on Superman Year One. But I'm very happy Bats and Lance both enjoyed it. I think Ash also liked it as well.
And I even enjoy, like, just imagine if Stan Lee created the DC universe. Personally, I'd rather not, but it does exist and it is enjoyable.
But also, you liked Batman and Robin, or was it Batman All-Star Batman and Robin?
Yeah, All-Star Batman and Robin.
I like Batman and Robin the
movie,
so like my tastes are from like licking dog shit to like eating filet mignon, you know. So it's like, you know, I'm down for whatever.
Don't lick dog shit.
Well, you know what my theory is on like I love Batman Forever because it's like so bad it's good, but like also, did I want 3 more movies in that vein? No. And knowing it ended, I could appreciate it when I went back, and I was like, you know what? It's a funny, campy Adam West type of take on Batman. But if it was still continuing, I'd be furious. I'd be very upset. I'd be like, this needs to stop. But I don't know. It's all about perspective, is what I'm trying to.
If you get a chance, there's a video on YouTube called like Learning How to Appreciate Joel Schumacher Batman. It's like a really good video. It's really good.
There's no point in that. No.
Well,
no.
Getting shut down.
No.
All right, I want to say hello to Skip and Tosh. He's in the chat right now. He's a new collaborator of mine. We're working on a show called Outside the Bleed. It's going to be a weekly show on the channel now. He's also streaming it on his Twitch channel, and we also have another show that should be debuting next week. But I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much. But thank you very much for joining us, my friend, and you'll be seeing a lot more of him on the channel in the future.
When you debuted that title, I was very disappointed that it wasn't about the Wildstorm multiverse.
Wow, that was the original intent of the show. Then we decided to tweak it. Should I tell you what Mr. Lim suggested we call this show?
Do it.
Outside the Trim Line. I said that sounds dirty, my friend. I can't call the show that. So
I mean, I thought outside of the bleed was just like had something to do with the menstrual cycle of Marvel Comics, but
no, it means we're going outside the margins of the comic book, and we're thinking about the comic on a different level.
I know.
Man, it's the symbolism. It's all there. All right, so we want to wrap up Doomsday Clock number 11 and move on to Spawn 300. It's a pretty big book. Anyone have anything else to say about Doomsday Clock we didn't cover?
I just wanted to
I can't wait to read it in 2021.
I just wanted to say that scene where Superman walks in front of the White House, who's almost disavowed him, and he says, "This has gone on long enough," and he has that look on his face where he's like actually pretty angry.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is my Superman. Give me a character that represents, and Geoff Johns put him in a situation where he's literally defending America, which is the White House. And I loved it. I was like, thank you. Finally, somebody who understands Superman, writing Superman. I'm sick of him being a science fiction geek. I want him to be more of a patriotic hero. It's just what he is. It's built into his character, like just totally.
Absolutely.
Justice in the American way.
Very good point. So I want to say thank you very much to my partner Skip and Tosh for the $1.99 super chat. A Holy Rusted Metal Batman. Indeed. Thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciated. And that will go towards paying for my next licensing deal for the software that I use. So there we go. Dylan, did you have anything you want to say before we wrap up? As we wrap up Doomsday Clock 11.
Just agree that scene was great when he's in front of the White House. It was so good, and then he gets punched through like 50 buildings. But it was, but I was like, oh man, he's gonna take on Black Adam and his whole crew. And then the next page is just him getting punched through so many different buildings. But it led up to him meeting Manhattan. So yeah, like the last 3 pages were so just perfect and set up 12 so great. It just sucks that we gotta wait like 4 months for 12 or however long we gotta wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so the November solicitations are out, so it shouldn't be out in November. So I imagine December.
Gary Frank said November on his Twitter.
Who did?
Gary Frank.
Oh, okay.
So he said November.
Nah, I don't believe him or Geoff Johns when it comes to
printing error.
All right, I'm talking to Dominic right now. Dominic, we're wrapping up Doomsday Clock 11. We're moving on to Spawn 300. Bats, you had the longest Bats review I've ever seen for Spawn 300. What did you think of the book?
I absolutely loved it. Definitely worth the $8. Yeah, there's just so much good stuff in it. You can just really tell that Todd had just sat there, you know, when he wasn't writing Spawn, and just kind of thinking of like the biggest, craziest thing he could do with Spawn, and really looking forward into the future of the character and the brand in itself. And it really just shows overall that.
Did we just lose Wes?
I think we did, yeah. He probably has to go change a diaper or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty.
We said BRB in our little group chat here.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, Spawn I think is a freaking amazing comic, and I cannot wait for the next issue. If you get a chance to watch my review, I kind of.
Is this the first appearance of Lady Spawn?
Yeah, She Spawn.
She Spawn, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. She looks great. She looks great. She definitely has that 90s image woman look to her. Tall,
You think
long
that?
legs.
Yeah, you think
Really,
the changes are ongoing for him?
I think Spawn, as him looking like the God of War. I
Yeah,
think that will. I don't think that will be his ongoing costume. I think he's gonna get a new costume or create one himself, because they're talking in the issues where that they believed, his symbiote was the center of his power,
yeah.
and he said no, it was never that in the first place, and he just like impales himself and cauterizes a skull to his crotch, and so I think he's just gonna create his own new costume, and I think it's just gonna be for the end of this arc of him just fighting, pretty much naked, covered in ash, in a flag. But
That's weird.
I mean, I think it's dope.
It's very 90s. I was the artwork throughout throughout the 300 blew my mind.
Yeah, that
That
was
was just
absolutely great.
whoa. There's a couple of panels toward the end here. Yeah, right here. Just kind of like just blew my mind. This, but you don't get to see McFarlane's artwork on display like this anymore. So it's a little bit jarring because it kind of jumped between him and Capullo, I guess.
Yeah, I really liked it though. I really liked how the Capullo started with everything leading up to what's about to happen, and then when it was like Todd was like, I'm drawing the fight scene," you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so that was really cool. He's like, I'm gonna draw the big reveal, and so and then accordingly, like they're like, oh, we're gonna give J. Scott Campbell the new female hero to draw. It was like everyone kind of played their part perfectly. The Great Capullo story. It was very remnants of the way Scott Snyder would write Batman, where there'd be like this little mini story that would lead into the main story. So with the family getting killed by the little girl was very like reminded me of like the Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder's Batman run a lot. Damn cat.
I just bought it for the Campbell cover.
Okay.
and it's a gorgeous cover too. It's stained glass and everything.
I bought the Virgin and the sketch, but not the regular,
Not the trade dress.
not the trade dress one.
Yeah, the I was talking about in our aficionados chat how many copies of it I got in 150 of the just the J. Scott Campbell trade dress, and they were all gone in a day and a half. So that was gone. The 200 of between like the Virgin and the black and white and the regular dress and all of those are gone except for like 5 copies. I've got 5 copies of Spawn 300 left, and they're all the black and white Virgin cover A, and that's it. So it's insanity.
I want to personally thank you, Pele, here for kind of telling me to check out Spawn, because if it weren't for you, it would have just kind of went under my radar.
It really has
300.
been like a lot of people have talked about different series, like House of X, Powers of X, stuff like that. I think that this Spawn run is probably just as important, if not more important, than anything going on at DC and Marvel right now. Well, as far as sales, as far as cultural impact.
Well, and I had kind of addressed this in my video that I released this morning, where kind of like when Todd left Marvel, it was to pull away from the mainstream of comics and start his own company and do his own thing. And now it's 27 years later. Image is the it's the big two, and then Image, and then everyone falls under them. And in my video, I kind of thought this out loud in my video, where what if in the future, Marvel and DC kind of fold on themselves and just start reprinting, just graphic novels or back issues, and just reprinting old stuff because it's not profitable for them to keep making new issues. Spawn potentially can be the book that keeps going. And McFarlane is like an unstoppable force when it comes to what he wants to do. He's like, oh, I'm going to create a toy company. They're like, it's completely impossible. He's like, and then he creates a toy company. They're like,
yeah, he's definitely what's so funny about McFarlane, and I think that he's always been this way, is that he's such an iconoclast. He is such a he defines everything that he's involved with, not just the projects that he comes up with, but the project, anything he's involved with, it sort of morphs around him. And that's one of the things that we were talking about before. I would have been excited if they'd have brought Spawn into the Marvel universe and had like a crossover event or something like that, because it would have possibly infused modern Marvel a bit with some of McFarlane's ideas, and they really desperately need that right now.
They tried that with Angela, and now we got the that they made of that character.
Ugh. Well, that's because they gave it to a feminist crackhead.
She was an angel from heaven who came down to kill hellspawns, and now she's dating a tranny or something. I'm like,
yeah, I know. And then
Thor's sister.
With Boar, with Boar, them having to beat up, Odin's dad, it's like, what the?
And she doesn't even have a cool look anymore. They redesigned her costume. It looks like trash. Like, she's not like the same character at all. Like, in name only.
And didn't Odin's dad like get revealed as an anti-Semite or something stupid like that? It's like unsolicited opinions on the unsolicited opinions on Israel or something like that.
What? Women even know who what Jewish people are?
Yes,
I know. It's like, this is so bad.
That's because they're the Christian God's favorite people, and so Odin's dad clearly doesn't like the Christian God's favorite people.
I don't even know how aware of other gods a Norse god would be. Like, you're in a different realm.
Not very.
Yeah,
in Asgard, right? Like,
yeah, because they already covered this. They covered this years ago in the Ares miniseries, whenever they brought Ares in kind of as the Thor replacement. The pantheons of gods really don't know shit about each other.
Oh my god.
They don't.
They really don't.
I wouldn't think because they can't coexist, because a lot of them are similar.
Yeah, and they don't hang out. They don't talk. They don't even bother to learn about each other. They're just, they know that half the time they don't even know they exist.
Yeah, I mean, they've got like the Tribune of Sky Fathers or something like that, which is like the big, that's like the big meeting group, I guess, the meeting of the minds of all the different pantheons. But that's it. I don't think that there's any. I mean, Thor and Hercules, I think, get together and wrestle every once in a while, and tag team on She-Hulk now. But I think that's well, yeah, they did. You didn't see that with they're in the pool with She-Hulk or something like that.
Oh yeah. That page, and she looks more manly than them.
Yeah, it's like, I'm expecting to see the shadow of her.
All right, let's get back to Spawn 300.
Wes is not amused. Look at his face. Oh my gosh.
Not really.
Sorry, Wes.
The Greek and Roman gods almost had no overlap. Like, all of that stuff is just it can't be in the same universe. It just can't, because I have 3 Zeuses now. Like, what am I going to do with this?
All right. We're back to Spawn 300. So I personally haven't been able to read the comic book yet because I've had some other projects I was working on. But I did get a look at the art, and it's phenomenal. The first story, I believe, is Greg Capullo. second is Todd McFarlane, and the third is J. Scott Campbell, and then the two regular artists at the end. It makes me very sad that J. Scott Campbell does not do interior art all that often, because his Spawn work was amazing. What did you think about it, Bats?
I'm glad J. Scott Campbell doesn't do interior art.
You didn't like it?
No,
I thought it was
I'm not.
Heretic! Heretic, get off this stream.
Sorry, I'm one of the few people on the planet who thinks he's just kind of mediocre.
You're wrong.
I mean, I really liked the design of She-Hulk, but that's as far as it goes. Like, all his women are interchangeable.
They all
Whose
have
women?
the same
Wait,
face.
what? Whose women are interchangeable?
J. Scott Campbell's. You just
Oh
switch
my
their hair.
god! Oh my
They-
god! Oh,
Yeah, they all have. They might have same face,
have boobs.
but who cares?
He's okay. I will say that there is a sameness as far as they all have the kind of almond-shaped cat eyes and stuff like that. But I would consider that more of a stylistic choice, really, than that they all look the same. You could look at there was a cover, the 1980s A-Force. They did an 80s callback cover with 5 different women on the cover.
No, it was just 3. It was Rogue, Dazzler, and
Right. Okay.
somebody else.
Yeah, and they all look distinctly different. You know, it's just that they all had like that almond color eye. But
Well, Darwin Cook drew all his women the same, but it was still great.
yeah,
Well,
But in Campbell, I don't know. I haven't read a lot of his stuff. So
So,
I was just saying,
back
though,
to-
even if it's the same.
back to Spawn. So yeah, when it comes to J. Scott Campbell, he's my least favorite on the book. But overall, the McFarlane, the Greg Capullo, the JASON SHAWN ALEXANDER, and Jerome Ope A had just really just like brought their A game. I think everyone just kind of killed it. Even J. Scott Campbell, he's just my least favorite of the
they've got to be paying him a fortune, though. I mean, he's a cover artist now, and he makes like $25,000 to do a cover.
Well, yeah,
I'm pretty
Todd-
sure the Todd father called in a favor to
Yeah.
yeah.
to get that art team together, and even has Scott Snyder as a writer. You know, it's pretty impressive.
Well, yeah, especially considering that I'm pretty sure that Snyder and Capullo were both under exclusive contracts, getting them to basically break their exclusive.
I think they probably had a clause or something in there, you know, that they could negotiate at any time or something like that. But,
Yeah,
Well-
or they had to do it for free or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
what
think though the timing was kind of in the middle of the 2 Capullo contracts, because he was finishing up last night and then he got another contract. So I think it was timing.
Yep,
And,
definitely might have had something to do with it.
what I would really like to see is because it is going to happen, right? When Scott Snyder leaves DC Comics,
yeah.
I would like to see him on Spawn. I think Spawn is like kind of a really good place for Snyder to kind of go buck wild with everything's interconnected, and this is, you know, this Greek thing happened in this cave, and then it came to America, and it was under this building, right? He can do like all that like crazy interconnected story through timeline stuff really well in a Spawn type story, and because it involves like heaven and hell and gods and demons and stuff like that, and also Scott Snyder is a really good horror writer. So it's kind of best of both worlds, where he can tell these grandiose superhero stories in a horror setting. So
Yeah.
when I was reading the Snyder bit, I was like, oh man, I really want him on Spawn. Like,
I wonder if he
he-
even needs to leave DC to write Spawn, because he had that Witches series when he was exclusive to DC. So
He also has the Undiscovered Country, or I think that's the name of it, coming out from Image in November.
But
So I think
that's,
his contract just changed as well.
But
I'd
those are
love to see it though. I mean, that sounds like a great fit, Snyder on Spawn.
But he might have the
those
he
are
might have
creator-owned books.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, they're creator-owned books. Like Spawn is a well-known superhero franchise. It has a movie. It has a TV show.
Crosses the
It
line.
has,
Work for hire is out. Creator-owned is fine.
Okay.
That's how exclusive deals work. You're allowed to go and do whatever you want for yourself. You're just not allowed to take any business or any contracts from anybody else.
Interesting. All right. So did you page through 300? Did you read it, Doc? What'd you think?
I literally just bought it for the JSC cover. Haven't even cracked it open.
Heretic.
I might read it.
It's definitely worth the read. It's so good.
Yeah,
This is the
Yeah,
landmark.
I would love to.
The way they did this issue, charged $8, and I sat down. I did what I said I was going to do. I sat there and poured myself a nice Chianti, and sat down, with the right light and my favorite chair, and sat down to read it. And by the end of it, I did not feel like I had been molested for $8. Usually when
$10.
Usually if I had to spend $8, $10, of course I get them at cost, but if I had to spend a large amount of money for a new comic like that, I feel somewhat cheap after I've read it. Like, that really wasn't worth X amount of money. But at the end of this, I was like,
Todd,
oh, okay, that was worth it.
If Todd square bound it, I would have happily paid $10 for it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
if there was a square bound variant, I would have paid $10 for it.
And here's something interesting too. It's such a fat book. There's so much in this book, yet there are no bindery tears. Like Spider-Man 800 and every big fat Spider-Man book that's come out in the last 5 years. So it's like it can be done. Look, this is properly done. This is the way it should be. But anyway,
one person cares about their product, the other one just throws shit on a shelf.
Yeah, I know. They go with the cheapest, whoever the cheapest paper.
Speaking of that, I'd just like to. I have a question. If anybody has the answer to this, because I have Berserker Unbound and Savage Avengers, and they're both illustrated by Mike Deodato Jr. And Berserker Unbound looks twice as good for some reason, and I can't figure out why.
Because he actually probably, is Berserker Unbound a creator-owned?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here on Dark Horse, or is it Boom?
Dark Horse.
Okay, if it's creator-owned, it's because he cares. And the other one, he's getting paid a garbage page rate, and he's basically 3D model tracing everything at this point.
Oh, that's
sad. What did you think of Steranko's comments on Marvel Comics 1000 cover?
I love Jim.
He's awesome.
I love Jim. The man is my
treasure. He's a treasure. He's a treasure to the comic book industry.
He truly is.
Just when you think he can't be cooler than he is, he does something else that's awesome.
I love Jimmy Steranko, and no matter what he says, I'm going to say, yeah, I agree with it.
It's so great that he is so non-PC in a PC world.
The man,
as far as comic industry, and he can get away with it too because he's Jim Steranko.
The man gives no shits, and it's great. I love it.
I think he gives all the shit. That's why he is the way he is, though.
Yes, he does. He cares. He cares a great deal about art, about comics, about film, about general entertainment. And whenever he sees people just kind of
half-assing it,
crapping out product, he has an objection to it.
Yeah, he does.
I got to say hello to him at a comic convention, and the way he looks on his Twitter handle, where he wears a suit and like 70s porn star glasses. That's the way he is, man.
I
know.
I shook his hand like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't had a handshake that firm in a decade.
He has a Liberace vibe to him.
He does.
When we saw him in
very clean cut.
Last time we saw him, it's the first time that my wife had ever seen him, and I walked up to him and I wanted him to sign one of my books. I had a Nick Fury, my favorite Nick Fury cover, and the old, from the '60s series. And I had my favorite one, and I was going to have him sign it for me, and my wife was with me, and he probably looked at me like for about 2 seconds, and then he's like staring at my wife. And he's like, is this huge smile on his face, and he's like, so are you liking the convention? And he's talking right to her. He doesn't even look at me again. He's like talking to her. He's like, so you liking the convention? She goes, this is my first comic book convention. He says, oh really? That's great. He goes, sit down and have a talk with me about that. And it's like, and I'm sitting there going, he's making a play on my wife. This is hilarious. This is awesome. Jim Steranko is making a play on my wife, but yeah, he's just he is a completely unique person. He is himself. He is unashamedly himself, and it's sad that the comic those are the rock stars that the comic industry used to have.
Here was Jim's for everybody in the chat that didn't see it. Jim's tweet was, thanks for the comment, but the production deadline is long past for a cover on Marvel 1000. Even if I was interested in working for peanuts for a company I helped put on the map. But I'm not in the elephant family, so no thanks, Marvel. Maybe something for issue 2000.
Oh,
such a good diss, and then he even made fun of him for making a fake 1000 commented.
Yep.
The other one that I pulled up was from his Twitter. Because I had covers on Action 1000 and Detective 1000, I expected my alma mater to Shanghai a cover for me for Marvel Comics 1000. They didn't contact me, so I called them, but was unable to make my standard cover deal. Unbelievable, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's just saying how cheap they are, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I bet Todd McFarlane could afford him.
By the way, does he get any money when they do those homage covers of his classic Shield cover every year?
No, they don't. No, you don't.
No.
He's got to be so annoyed by all of us.
Actually, you know what? He doesn't seem to mind it. He likes the fact that he had such an influence, and now he will obviously get irritated if somebody
throw shade at it.
But they should, if the amount that they milk out of his art, they should give him extra money to do a cover whenever he wants to do a cover.
But the thing is, they don't really milk it. It's the artists that are picking this. The editors may make a suggestion here or there on what the cover should be like, but every time an artist chooses to homage that cover, it's pretty much on the artist. So as long as they credit Steranko, he doesn't mind really. I mean, he'll kind of crap on it if it's a bad homage, but he doesn't mind it. And it
reminds me of Burt Reynolds from Boogie Nights. He's just like that like badass just dude who's just like, I don't know. He's got enough presence about him.
Steranko is the most interesting man in the world in real time. Like in the actual, like he is the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, listen to him tell stories. And one thing that's interesting, if you ever get a chance, if anybody out there listening ever gets a chance to meet him at a convention, do it. It's such an experience, and if you have a question, he'll answer it.
I'll make sure I bring my wife.
He will. I'll tell you what. He will stop a line of 500 people in it, to tell a story for like 15 or 20 minutes, and
Nobody complains.
nobody says a damn thing. They'll just sit there and just in awe of him. And he'll tell some story about, oh yeah, Byrne. Yeah, I was doing some work with Byrne, and I took his old lady out for dinner and we left him, something like that.
He told a story the other day about running late and doing, he got asked to do a cover like last minute, and he ended up working all night on it, and he was driving into the office the next morning to deliver it, and he was shaving in the car, and he got rear-ended and cut his face, and he's bleeding all over his white shirt, and he walks into the Marvel offices, and they were giving a tour to the UN that day.
Oh Lord.
And there he is, holding his original art, his face and shirt covered in blood.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. And apparently he just made up a story for how it happened.
So there were terrorists, and I had to stop the terrorists before I could come into work.
Well, there's some interesting things about Steranko that he will not talk about.
Well, yeah, he worked for the CIA for a while.
Yeah. And
he did that, and he didn't ruin Batman, so that means he's twice as good.
Yep.
So we've gone a little bit far
feel-
afield. If you're in the channel and you haven't gotten to see any of the flavor of Spawn 300, I highly suggest you go check out Sergeant Bat's channel. He has a great 30-minute video. I believe Ash on Comics also did a Spawn 300 review. He has a 45-minute video. So there's plenty of Spawn 300 content out there. 48 minutes. And I should have like a 15-minute video out tomorrow or Monday. So go check those out. And let's move on to the next subject I want to talk about. Let's talk about the big to-do over the reveal that there's likely in 2020 going to be a black Batman taking the mantle from Bruce Wayne as he goes on hiatus with the love of his life, and Brian Michael Bendis likely takes over the series.
Oh, no, don't say that.
Well, I mean, it's the
Batwing.
exact same thing he did with Iron Man and the same thing he did with Spider-Man. So, it's what he does. So I'm assuming it has to be him. I don't think it's that big a deal. It's like,
I'll tell you what.
I don't.
Well,
I don't
if we're gonna have a
feel
black Batman, he has to be gay. They might as well just go all out and just
He is gay.
have
Is Luke Fox gay?
perfect.
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know
I'm
enough
sure
about
he
the
is.
character to be able to confirm that one.
Yeah, he is gay. So it's Batwing is gay. So it's like,
No, he's
oh,
not.
okay.
He was dating Barbara Gordon, and then all through Detective.
That doesn't mean
he was like-
anything.
and all,
I know,
and
look
all-
at Iceman.
and all through Detective, he was like the Tony Stark, where he had like two supermodels on his arms as he walked in the building drinking champagne.
Mhm.
He was pretty
All
much
right, so we're
black.
not here to talk about a
Batman,
gay
Iron Man.
Batman because that's not actually in the news. We're here to talk about a black Batman. Guys, what do you think about the news of a possible black Batman introduced by Bendis, likely to be Batwing taking the mantle from Bruce Wayne as he goes on a hiatus with Catwoman and Tom King in his own series? What do you think about that, Don?
I think that Nighthawk was really cool in Squadron Supreme.
Yeah.
In the JMS, or I'm sorry, Supreme Power that JMS and Gary Frank did 15 years ago. So,
Well, that never happened, bigot.
yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. History began a week after tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly,
think they've butchered Batman's sales now to the point to where I don't see how it could go down any further. So it won't matter.
It's possibly increase sales on Batman. Like,
Maybe.
nobody wants to see Bruce Wayne sidelined for the 5th time in the last 10 years. I'm
But
so
he has-
tired of this.
But he hasn't been sidelined by a black guy. He
who
needs to be-
cares?
He needs
So
to.
my thought is,
he's. Go ahead, Wes.
my thought was, the way Bruce Wayne's been treated and everything, maybe it's good that he goes on hiatus for a couple years and and heals himself up. I feel bad for him. With everything King's done to him, I'm surprised he hasn't offed himself yet in the book.
Well, you
So
just wait till issue 12 of Batman Catwoman.
Well, yeah. At least that won't actually be in Batman.
Maybe that'll be the end of it. He'll just kill himself, and that's that's how Tom King changes.
They're working towards, doesn't it? Like with the way that they keep treating him and everything that just keeps happening.
Does anybody else feel like the relationship between Batman and DC and their fans when it regards Batman is almost like a bad marriage at this point? It's like, this has gone on way too long. Like, we need to separate. We need to live in different domiciles.
I've been collecting Batman since 1999 consistently, and I just couldn't take it anymore, and I signed Batman with divorce papers.
Well, I mean, King said it himself. He said it perfectly on his Twitter. He said, "This is the direction Batman's in. This is where he is right now. And if you don't like it, then it's not the series for you."
And he could say that about Adam Strange next year, and he said that about all the other characters he writes because he's a sad person.
Yeah, he's pathetic.
It's fine to do it with characters like Vision or Adam Strange or Mr. Miracle. It's not fine to do it with Batman.
I don't even think it's fine for him to do it with any of them.
Wait, are we talking about King or Bendis at this point? I really don't know.
King.
Okay.
Two sides.
What's your opinion? What's our guest's opinion? I mean,
what do you think, Dylan?
You've been quiet. You've been sitting there just kind of going,
I didn't read Spawn 300, so I had nothing to say about all that.
Yeah, but you could definitely weigh in as far as Batman here. So.
Yeah, I agree with Wes. I think it's not a big deal. It's just, I think it's another thing of here, we need to sell Batman. Batman's not selling shock value. One issue will skyrocket because everyone will be like, oh, Black Batman will buy it, and then it'll tank and no one will buy the book anymore.
Well, the speculators will buy out the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody will keep buying it because it won't be good.
Yeah. It's just another shock value book. Comics does it all the time. That's all it's going to be. It's weird that they chose Batwing because he hasn't been relevant since the New 52. I thought they might choose Duke since he's a bit newer and has had a bit more to do with the DC universe as of late, to where Batwing kind of... Does anyone know what Batwing has been doing lately, at all?
By the way, he's not even the first Batwing.
No, there's two of them, yeah.
So get ready for the first Batwing to show up as his main villain.
Yeah. It was Grant Morrison, right? Created the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, and then it was written by Judd Winnick, and then one Judd.
Well, the character was created in the '60s. There was an issue in the '60s where there was an alternate story where there was a black Batman in Harlem or something, and then Grant Morrison brought that character back.
Mm-hmm.
But it was for 10 seconds. The character.
As well as Stan Lee's Just Imagine He Created Batman, he was also a black Batman.
So that's the thing. Batman. If you think of Batman as just a cowl and the symbol, then yes, Batman can be a black man. As long as they're not turning Bruce Wayne and race swapping him, that would be really weird.
Yeah,
you can't replace the mission statement of Batman, which is that he was the boy made of privilege and saw his parents murdered in front of his eyes and used all that privilege to become this force of nature to protect the innocent.
But there's been other people been Batman. Azrael's been Batman. Dick Grayson's been Batman. This isn't.
But the Kate Kane, when she took over as Batman, and Bruce Wayne was gone, her backstory doesn't measure up. It's just that's Harry. It's just not the same weight. You can write a mediocre story with Bruce Wayne and it'll be good. You can't write a mediocre story with Luke Fox and it will be bad.
I'm not disagreeing with you there. I'm just saying that you can have a black Batman because technically anyone can be Batman, as long as you're wearing the costume.
Yeah, but when the defining part of Black Batman is his blackness, that's a problem. And if they go
that's
that
on
route,
the writer.
I know, but I'm saying that if they do go that route, though, where it's he's woke. He's like hyper woke or something like that, and talking about social issues all the time and all that kind of stuff. You know, just from a racial perspective, then you know what's.
But that's projecting. We don't even know if that'll happen.
I'm just saying if that's
the
direction they go.
I'm
You know,
if they just write him lame, like no one's gonna want to buy a lame Batman that's not even Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm hoping it doesn't affect Detective Comics too much, because Detective Comics has been consistently good. Like, I'm really enjoying what Tomasi's doing. He's just doing his own thing. It has nothing to do with King's Run or what Snyder's doing or anything else. It's just like it's standalone, fun Batman adventure book. I'm hoping he can keep that up with whenever this happens.
That recent standalone like one shot with the Joker at the carnival thing, that was like one of the best comics of the year. I love that book. That was
great.
amazing. And
I love Doug
Art
Manchin.
That was good stuff.
And I know we have some Spawn fans here. When they replaced Al Simmons with Jim Downing, that was a bad run. I read it. It sucked. It was like, I don't like this. I want Al Simmons.
Yeah, it kind of tanked the sales down to like 11,000 or something crazy.
Didn't that? I mean, I came back to Spawn in like the 292 or 294, somewhere around there. Didn't that go on from like 200 to like
250?
Yeah, there was a long run there where they did not break 15,000 copies. And I'll tell you what, those issues now are gold. They are worth a fortune because they're so rare. They're so hard to find.
Some things are just rare for a reason, though. Like, I know you're like being a speculator, but like some things are rare because they suck. And they should be in the trash.
That was the thing, though. They didn't really suck. They were just different, and they were different in a time. They were different. They were different in a time when people didn't really want different. So it was, it didn't go over well at the time. But now everybody's going back and trying to find those issues, and you've got 50,000 people trying to buy 15,000 copies. So issue number 221 is worth $150.
Oh my!
So, you've got issues that are peppered out through there. That this one's worth 150, that one's worth 200. This is where because they're just everybody wants them and there's not enough of them. So yeah, they weren't awful. I mean, I read them.
I felt like it wasn't Spawn. I read it.
But it wasn't traditional Spawn, but it was still decent. So, people want to be completists now. So they're going back and trying to get those issues, and they just can't find them.
Yeah.
On the Batwing thing, I saw in the comments saying Batwing sucks. The new 52, the new 52 series written by Jimmy Palmiotti, or however you say that dude's name, Justin
Palmiotti
and Palmiotti, yeah, and Eduardo Pass something. I'm terrible at Spanish, and just reading in general. That run is really good, and it has Darwin Cook covers. It's really good. It was actually my favorite Bat book at the time as that was coming out, and it wasn't a Batman book.
That's why Palmiotti jumped on my Twitter timeline and scolded me for saying Luke Fox is interesting. I didn't. Now I get it. I didn't understand why. I'm like, whoa, Jimmy Palmiotti.
No, yeah, it's worth a read. It's actually, they really made you care about the character. It was classically written about a hero in danger and perseverance and having to, go up against all the odds, and even when they're stacked against them, it was just a all around good, like, solid Bat family story. And this is when detective didn't matter, when it was like near the end of Scott Snyder's Batman run. There was like 9 other Batman books going on and Gotham books, and the Batwing book was just all around solid. And so, yeah, if you guys were gonna check out Batwing in general, I would say skip the Judd Winnick era and just jump into the Jimmy Palmiotti or however
I
you say
usually
his
use
name.
that policy with anything that has Judd Winnick's name on it.
All right, so we'll talk about this. We were supposed to talk about it in Aficionados a couple weeks ago. Dylan, do you think Alfred's really dead?
No, he's in Doomsday Clock also, so there's that. But he's not dead. No. That's just more shock value from King to be like, look what I'm doing. No, he's not dead.
So you think it was Psycho Pirate projecting that image into Robin's head to teach him a lesson?
Something. It's that or a million other things. Whatever King decides to pull out of his own ass, that's it. He's not like there's no big master plan here with Bane and all that. He didn't kill Alfred. Alfred's not dead. They've done it. They've faked it out before. Alfred's fine.
Yeah.
What did you think of their handling of it? I thought it was lame that even if that was his death, there was no impact on it. You didn't even see the character for 2 full issues, and all of a sudden they just break his neck. You're like, have about a little struggle, maybe pleading for his life as Damian's trying to save him and falls short, and make it really tragic. It was just like, nope.
It's just funny that we're in that point in comics where we just don't care about what happened with Alfred because it's nothing long lasting. He's gonna be fine. It's just King. As soon as a new writer comes on, they're gonna restore Alfred immediately, assuming that if Alfred actually did die, which I don't think he did. It's funny that we're at that point where it doesn't matter.
It literally could have been anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, so you could have just gotten a bum off the street and dressed him like Alfred and killed him. It could have been anybody's.
Alfred should only be in harm's way by coincidence, not because a villain comes into the Batcave and grabs him. Like, I just don't. Snyder did that too. He cut his hand off, and I'm like, really? It's just kind of. What was the point of this? And I don't even know how he got his hand back. Does anyone?
Just happened.
I don't remember either. I remember Joker knocked on the door and kidnapped him, and then then he got his hand cut off.
Maybe we're gonna get a Year of the Villain where Lex Luthor's drone shows up to Alfred and gives him a new hand, like a super bionic hand.
So we think Scott Snyder was reading too much. What is that? Game of Thrones. You remember the Jaime Lannister?
Oh
yeah, we gotta take Alfred's hand. Great.
How's he gonna make sandwiches with one hand, right?
That'd be difficult.
Yeah, no kidding.
One-handed butler.
I just get right now. Nobody cares what King does. Nobody cares what King does.
He's trying to tie his tie with the one hand.
So who else thinks that City of Bane is just fourth rate, Dark Knight Rises fanfic? It's just
I've not read it.
I've read.
I'm not reading it either.
I'm not keeping up with it, but I've read 2 issues of it, and it just very much feels like, hey guys, I can do Nightfall too. I can do a more depressing Nightfall that'll be better, but it's so much worse. It feels like he just read Nightfall for the first time. And he wants to do his own version of it, and it's just terrible.
And land, a little No Man's Land in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to recreate a couple of better known stories, and he's basically just making himself look stupid.
Yeah.
When he tries to recreate all of Alan Moore's tropes, he's like, "You are not Alan Moore, sir."
Did you notice that the only characters he uses are the ones that use brute force? That he has almost no, other than Psycho Pirate. All the other characters he uses are basically just dudes with guns and stuff. They're not. Where's Mad Hatter? He had Scarecrow in there, but he got his ass whooped, and then it was over. He doesn't. He never did any of the psychological criminal the
Nightmares.
Oh yeah.
The worst story arc in comic history.
I forgot.
That was all my fault.
I tried to forget.
Everyone wants to forget that one.
There was that one time where Joker held up a guy in front of his door and waited for the mail.
Yeah.
Was it
that
where PewDiePie had
DC Nations comic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where PewDiePie painted himself like the Joker and had a revolver.
Yeah.
So Bane planned everything from the beginning and every contingency that Batman has for every situation, also from the beginning, and also all the other stuff. And he has like, is Bane God or what's going on here?
He's some type of god.
I hate how he dragged
Catwoman is God.
Batman into it too. Bringing in Thomas Wayne. It's pointless and it's so
He doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Where did he come from?
Also, if he's actually there and he's not like a figment of his imagination or psychopirate or whatever, that he's also helping to ruin that great moment at the end of Flashpoint that Geoff Johns did when he wrote that letter to Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
He's completely ruining that moment.
King's ruining a lot of moments from.
Whoa! Hey! Joshua Williamson wrote The Button.
Hey, that's a great one. All-time classic.
And that's where that letter came back again. Remember in The Button where he's like he told him not to be Batman anymore, and then Batman starts crying at the end. He's like, I shouldn't be Batman, and then it was all downhill from there.
I just remember Flash, Wally West coming back and hugging all his friends, and they're like, "Oh, we love you so much. We can't believe we missed you and everything." And then King went back and retroactively put like this big sad face on him.
If you read Night of Vengeance by Azzarello, King is also mischaracterizing Thomas Wayne because Thomas Wayne would never lay a hand on Bruce or work against him, no matter what. Well, if you read that,
he couldn't beat up Damian either in a one-on-one fist fight. That's why he has to use guns, but.
He can't even get the D-list characters right at DC. Like, it doesn't even take that much effort to write Thomas Wayne, and he can't do it.
And he also, who was it? The Ditko character that he just ruined? Is that
Captain Atom?
Oh
Captain Atom. He just
kicked.
Those panels are so painful to look at. It's just, it's so lame. This is a guy who stood toe to toe with Superman. One of the most powerful characters in the DC universe that isn't a god, and she just knocks him out of the city, and she just destroys him. And
Captain Atom just had a great scene in Doomsday Clock too, where he goes up against Manhattan, and does that huge explosion, and which is really cool because when I read that I was like, oh, good on you, Geoff Johns, because Dr. Manhattan is the character that was Captain Atom was the original character written in Alan Moore's script, which was changed to Dr. Manhattan. I was like, oh, that's freaking awesome that those two go up against each other. Like, that's Geoff Johns.
We're going to need, after all of this, another Geoff Johns purge of all of the characters. Like, remember, like, Rebirth, where Manhattan evaporated Pandora? He's like, hey, you were Jim Lee and Dan Didio's character that ran around in all the DC titles in the first #1, the New 52. Guess what? You're gone. I'm killing this character. What he's going to have to do to Gotham Girl, he's going to have to do it to anything Tom King has done. Just be like, it's either gone or it's reversed.
The only reason why we have King on Batman, and the only reason why King is such a fixture at DC now, is because of the comics press. And literally, you have a dozen people, a dozen social justice. I'm not going to say the word. Jerks that are dictating what DC is doing and what because they're, oh, it's so stunning. Look at this great, compelling storytelling and blah, 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 blah. And so full of crap. And that's the reason why we have King and why he is installed at DC and why they can't get rid of him is because of these 12 people or so that are in the comics press. And it doesn't matter how much fans dump the series, doesn't matter how far distribution goes on it, as long as those 12 people are happy, then nothing else matters. And they have
here's how much the comics press
best-selling author.
Like, Doomsday Clock's the highest selling comic in 10 years, and Geoff Johns hasn't granted a single interview. So we don't need the comics press.
Well, Doomsday Clock releases every 4 months, but Tom King releases 2 issues that sell at least 80,000 books a month. And then when he was doing Heroes in Crisis, there was another issue that was $75,000 or $75,000 a month. And then I think Mr. Miracle was actually over 50, wasn't it? And that's great for that character. So he actually sells. It sucks.
Mr. Miracle, yeah, and then look what he did to Mr. Miracle at the end.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I'm with you. I think he's a terrible writer. I don't know why people buy his books.
I would never look at a
buy him
because
character
the comics press,
Scott
because the
Reed.
comics press just talk about him and say that he's so wonderful. But and honestly, what I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the distribution numbers are not really telling the whole story of sales. So,
I do believe that there are comic stores that are still buying Batman books that they know they can't sell.
Why is Tom King so weird, though?
what's
Who looks at Mr. Miracle and says he has PTSD because he cut the heads off of a bunch of things in hell or something? It's like, what? Isn't he like Harry Houdini, like kind of like action type of guy?
He's an escape artist.
Yeah. Why is there so much blood and guts in that comic? I dropped down issue 3 and I'm like, this is weird. I don't like it.
Pele, what's the Batman stack look like in your shop?
Oh, I get whatever people request as far as pulls, and then I have like maybe 2 or 3 issues for the wall, and that's it.
Oh.
I order right now. My ordering is 30 copies. I get 30 copies, and I used to get like 150.
Yeah,
honestly, honest to God, there's like 27 people who have it for pulls, and then I get like 3 copies for the wall. And I used to buy 150 copies of every issue of Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how the mighty have fallen,
And what's funny is I'll still go to shops that have like a foot thick of Batman issues on the wall. And I'm like, what are you doing? For my friend Joey, who runs a shop in town, I'm like, what are you doing? I literally just picked up a copy of it, and I said, you've got 60 issues here on the wall. It's just what, that's what we're used to ordering, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you're not paying attention to what people have dropped. You're not paying attention to people who have dropped the series, people who haven't picked up their comics and haven't picked up Batman in like a year and is still accumulating in their folders. What's going on? You're not paying attention. And I think that's the majority of shops. They're just not paying attention.
Well, that plus the fact that they are convinced that eventually once Batman regular numbers start rebounding, once King's gone, people will go back and start filling in the run.
I doubt it.
But it's a dead. I think that, maybe that's what but I don't think they're thinking that far in advance. I don't think they're putting that much thought into it. They're just thinking it's Batman. This is how many we order.
That's how my shop looks like that. And just going to the shop last Wednesday, I think I said it before somewhere, but the wall for DC looks like 2016 Marvel. It's crazy.
Yeah, no one wants to buy it.
Absolutely crazy.
Did you see any copies of Marvel Comics 1000?
I did, yeah, and they were.
You should have picked one up, man.
No, I was too busy.
You could get that $10. You could use that $10 bill and like buy a Firehouse sub or something like that. Something that's actually worth $10.
I could have just set it on fire and it would have been the equivalent.
Yeah, that's what I told the one guy. That's what I told the one customer to do. He's like, he goes, it's $10. Do you think, is it worth it? And I said, I think that you'd be better off taking that $10 bill and lighting it on fire. And he just looked at me. He didn't know what to say. I'm like, I'm just being honest. I said, this, and I reached over behind me and I pulled a $10. I think it was a Grant Morrison, like Batman 668 or something like that. It was like something behind me on the wall. I had it marked for $10. Reached down, pulled it back. I said, buy this. Put $10 into this. It'll be worth $25 in about 10 years, and you'll be able to just pocket the profits. If you buy this for $10, you won't be able to sell it for $1 next year. It's garbage, and it's true.
Yeah, hopefully no one else bought that. That was a terrible comic book. I don't even know why I did it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
There's still a shit ton of copies on the shelf at my shop.
So you read Marvel Comics 1000 as well, Dylan?
Yeah, I read it. I wanted to see how it was. I didn't have any faith, but I wanted to see how it was. I wanted to have an informed opinion on it. And it was bad. It was as bad as I'd heard. There were some good pages,
It's like
though.
5 good pages.
Yeah, like the Gleason page is great. The Doctor Strange page was fun. There were a couple of good pages, but for the most part, it was weird. And like the whole 1-page gimmick was just
how
didn't
good
work
can a
for me.
1-page story be?
Yeah,
how good
like
can a 1-page story be? I mean,
because I thoroughly enjoyed the Detective and Action Comics 1000. I thought both those were really good and worth the price tag. I thought they both did really good, and they'd give each creator like 3 or 4 pages to tell like a small story that had something to do with the character. And this, it was just 1 page that had nothing to do with anything else besides Al Ewing's story about that mask. That was like 14 pages spread throughout, and
it's the way I've ever seen a story told in my life.
It made no sense because I would get like 10 pages of nothing that had to do with the mask, and then I'd get back to him and I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that mask stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, I had no clue what was going on with that or what the point of it was. It felt like such a directionless issue. Like Detective and Action are like, here we are celebrating these characters that have been around for so long. Or tell like something that means something to you about these characters. Here, where it's a celebration. To where this was like, okay, we're sort of doing a celebration of Marvel. We're also trying to set up the future of Marvel. We're also trying to preach to you about how bad like America is. We're doing a lot of different things. Like there was no direction.
Gotta get that in there.
Besides,
did you see the original? Yeah, did you see the original thing written by Bunghole? Yeah, Mark Waid. Oh, where he was like, America used to be great, and it's not great anymore, and the racism and.
He basically makes an argument that if you have a disability or a struggle to overcome, that you can't. I read it. And he's like, and this man writes superhero comics?
Well, he's pathetic. Yes. He's pathetic in the whole. He has damaged his brand to the point where, there's only a select group of fanboys that'll even buy his work anymore. And the whole thing he's got going on with Kwanzaa now, it's just
so weird how off the deep end he went, because this is the guy that wrote Kingdom Come and Birthright, and now he's just nuts.
Again, I believe he didn't write Kingdom Come.
No, he didn't. He
script doctored it for Alex Ross. That's
right.
And wasn't Kingdom Come from Alan Moore's pitch of Twilight of the Superheroes? Like he took a lot of that from the 80s.
Yeah, he stole a lot of that idea.
And then gave no credit to Alan Moore. And
no.
Of course not.
Of course not. His ego won't allow him to credit anybody with anything. He's.
I really like his.
Pretty sure he created Daredevil, didn't he?
His Daredevil run was actually the only thing in his career I think that was originally good. That he was original and good.
Before he went to San Francisco and ruined the character.
Yeah.
But it was, I agree, the first 36 issues were legit.
I mean, if, a Catholic lawyer who likes to box, I mean, why wouldn't he move to San Francisco?
It wasn't the problem that he, yeah. And it wasn't the problem that he moved for me. It was that he lost his identity. He shaved his head. He started wearing that weird trench coat, and he's like, I'm Mr. Daredevil lawyer. And it was like, what? And he's writing an autobiography of himself, and he's going to get $1 million for it. It's like, what's happening? And
it was...
Mark Waid is a weird guy. I mean,
he's a very angry, socially awkward, volatile individual with delusions of grandeur.
Yes.
So, I mean, he's paranoid. He's paranoid and probably borderline schizophrenic.
I was thinking about bringing him some sheetrock to punch instead of signing a book at a convention.
Yeah, could you punch the sheetrock for me? Yeah.
I've never
put a
seen
hole
a more or less imposing person act like a tough guy. Like, it's so weird.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that Bagel Boss kid.
Oh my god.
The Bagel
Yeah.
Boss guy. Like just throwing a giant tantrum. And
I follow him on Twitter, and it's totally worth your follow.
Bagel Boss?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
he's exactly who you expect him to be, and he thinks he's like the freaking bee's knees. He's like, I'm famous because of people like you. And
What
he's
would
got,
he
like,
do if you asked him to sign like a copy of one of his comics and asked him to make it out to Richard C. Meyer?
I would
Well,
like to see if he'll sign my. I would like to see if he'll sign my Jawbreakers.
He has had people kicked out of conventions for mentioning Meyer, so you'd probably get kicked out.
It'd be worth
Do it
it.
at the end.
I'd get all my other autographs first, and then when I was ready to leave, I'd hit his booth.
Yeah, I'd wait till Sunday.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I did with the Stanley Cup. You know, I waited until after I had already seen everything else in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and then I jumped the rope to go and hug and kiss the Stanley Cup.
You did that?
Well, yeah, I figure if I don't know if this is going to get me thrown out of the Hockey Hall of Fame, but I'm going to make sure I do all the shit that I did want to do first.
Yeah.
Because
I don't
this
know, when
one
you-
might get me thrown out.
That's amazing.
It took me a second to register, but when you said that you kissed the Stanley Cup, I had an entirely different image in my head. I apologize.
Yeah, you did say Stan Lee instead of Stanley.
Yeah.
So I just like pictured this like cup.
Yes, I kissed
Stan won.
I kissed Stan Lee's cup.
Yeah,
That's what went through my head. I apologize.
Yeah, for all that athletics that he did.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't look like a baseball or a hockey player.
All right, so let's get off the Marvel Comics 1000 stuff and talk about something fun at Marvel. Marvel is way hotter than DC right now, and it has a lot to do with X-Men. Doc, you're the X fanatic on the panel. Did you read House of X-Men before yet?
Yes, I did. I read it last night.
What did you think, my friend?
I think that it's kind of proving me right, and I don't like that I predicted it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey guys, spoilers. I don't really give a shit, but spoilers. Yeah, this is definitely not the present time that was in this is not.
Yeah, it's not current continuity 616. No.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely one of Moira's past lives, and her 11th life is our universe.
Mhm.
Now she may have done everything almost exactly the same, but it's definitely not. Lance is dipping out so that he can avoid the spoilers. Yeah. No, it's definitely not, and it is really, really good though.
It's cool.
It's my favorite comic book of 2019 so far. It jumped over Man and Superman in my mind.
I don't know if I would say that it's my favorite book of the year, but it is incredibly well done. It is very he has a plan. Hickman has a plan and he's sticking to it, and I like where he's going with it. It was really good. That's really all I can say. I mean, I'm really enjoying what he's doing, and I really want to see what happens going forward with what's going to be in the last kind of third, because we're basically a little over halfway through this. I think after the next issue, we'll be 2/3 of the way through. Mm-hmm. So, I really want to see where he goes in this last third. I liked the swerve though. I really did.
So, you haven't watched my the Outside the Bleed yet, have you?
No, I didn't watch it because I only read the book last night, and I didn't want to get spoiled before I read it.
Yeah. There's a lot of spoilers in that one. So we talked a little bit about some things. So Moira has 10 or 11 lives, depending on a decision that she makes.
Mhm.
But if she dies in this 10th lifetime and they've averted the mutant catastrophe, she'll reincarnate, and everything that they've done will be wiped out, and they'll have to redo it all again. Correct?
Yeah, theoretically.
So my belief is the way that they're going to get around that is because in Moira's third life, she developed a cure for the mutant gene. So once she gets everything right, she can then cure herself, and then she won't reincarnate. What do you think about that one?
Ooh, yes. I like that.
Because otherwise it's a paradox and it'll just loop.
Yeah,
right?
she'll just keep. Yeah, and if she cures herself, it also brings her back to being just human, which is how she started. And we didn't. Nobody was really a huge fan of the fact that Moira was magically a mutant. So I like the idea that that she could cure herself. That would be great.
Yep, and it also adds in a classic storyline where there's a cure for the mutant gene. Of course, the X-Men, want to keep it guarded secret, and it'll be found out. If you want to get up on it. So it adds a really interesting conflict, in my opinion. So I think there's a good chance we're going to learn that the pod people at the very first, the birthing scene in House of X #1, are actually the people that died in this last comic book, or that scene actually happens after this. And then, so this event may cause Charles Xavier to go to Mr. Sinister, who he knows has a mutant breeding program that probably hasn't been enacted yet, and has him regrow his children. Which one do you think is more likely, or neither?
I can see him going to Sinister.
Yeah, because at the end of the book, he's broken. He's on the ground. He's saying no more, right?
Yeah.
I still don't think that that's Xavier.
You think it is
not.
Sinister? It could be. Yeah.
I think it's Sinister.
I think no. I think it's. I'm not sure, but I'm wondering whether or not he's already Onslaught. Like he didn't require, like in this universe, he becomes Onslaught without wiping Magneto's brain.
Yeah. So,
or hell, it might be Cassie in his brain.
And then the other theory that Skip he produced, or that he thinks, is that the Krakoan tumor, that black area that Krakoa can't see, is hiding the area where the actual X-Men are, and that there's a mutant breeding program in there that it's not aware of, because Professor X is hiding it from it.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna defer to Skip on this one and say if that's what he thinks, then yeah.
Well, he explains it a lot better than I do. I'm paraphrasing here, but the name of the next issue was Something Sinister. So we're gonna meet him, I believe, in Powers of X, or Powers of 10 #4, and I think it's gonna be maybe one of the key moments, the most key moments since the Moira X issue, House of X #2.
Yeah.
So have you been reading it as well, Dylan, or are you just keeping up with it?
I've been reading it. Yeah, it's been really good. I read House of X and Powers of X when they first came out, like #1, and then I read the rest of them last night, and it's been really good. That Moira issue was probably my favorite so far. Like recapping all her life and everything, I thought that is great. It's made me interested in X-Men again, because I obviously love everything that Claremont did, and I read a lot of that. Like when I first got into comics when I was a little kid, I read a lot of like Claremont back issues, and then after that I couldn't get into X-Men again because there was just so
you set
much.
The bar too high for you.
Yeah, there was Weed and Morrison's like a million different things, and like nothing I could really like get into, to where this feels like an X-Men I can get into again. And so I'm happy about that. And yeah, I think it's been really good. Obviously, that moment that a lot of people are talking about was the Wolverine Nightcrawler moment in issue 4. So good when they teleport out there, and he's like, is there an afterlife? And he's like, when you wake from your slumber, come and find me. I thought, oh, it was so good. I love seeing that moment. And it was just, everything feels like it means something, and it's cool also having this continually, considering as much as I love Doomsday Clock, the delays suck. It's cool having X-Men like consistently come out and it be great and meaningful each time. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's been great, a lot better than I thought, because when it was first announced, I wasn't sure, because I wasn't the biggest fan of Hickman's Avengers. I liked it, but I wasn't like all in on it, to where his X-Men's been great so far, and I'm excited to see how it ends.
Mm-hmm. All right, later, Ash on Comics, thank you so much for joining us. Ash is a regular contributor to the Comics Aficionados. He has a great YouTube channel himself, and if you haven't subbed to his channel, please do so. And thanks for joining us, brother. So, Dill, so this is the first time you've been interested in X-Men, and since you read Claremont. What is it? Is it the characterization? Is it the big scope of the story? Is it everything? What is it? Is there something specific? Because this comic is bringing a lot of people back.
I think the overarching story is what's really got me interested, along with the fact that I feel like he's done a good job of nailing it down to the core characters. For a lot of other X-Men runs since Claremont has tried to like just throw everyone, like the whole roster, instead of keeping it in a bit more. Like, he's done a good job of focusing on certain characters and bringing them into the limelight, and the overall story is really interesting, because I want to see how it continues to go with the X-Men and everything with Krakoa, and how they're trying to stop their eventual extinction. They're like, we know this happens, how do we stop it? And then Moira is the key to continually going back and trying to stop it. I just think the overall story is like really interesting. It's actually got me engaged, unlike a lot of other X-Men stories seem to kind of like repeat themselves and try to sort of recapture what Claremont did, to where this is doing something new while also being sort of classic X-Men. I just think the overall story has been really engaging, unlike a lot of other X-Men stories.
It's kind of complementary. That's what's so amazing about this so far. Is Hawks and Pox they've complemented Claremont's run, and these feel like a natural evolution to what Claremont was building on, and instead of ripping on it. And it's such an original. It's so original that and it was so ballsy to actually go this route, and to take the path that he's taken as far as these plot lines and storylines with such well-known characters, and the payoff has been amazing.
The issue 3 of the one that came out last week had one of my favorite lines, and it's another Magneto line. I'm a big Magneto fan. But they tell Scott that he's gonna go on the mission, and Xavier says, I can sense your fears, so you can't really act like you're not afraid. And Magneto says, don't be afraid, because you're not going to die, because nobody's ever founded a nation and been forgotten. And as long as you live, you'll exist. Or as long as you're remembered, you'll exist, or something along those lines. And I thought that was so amazing. It's just like taken aback by what a great moment that was.
I also like Scott's little talk with them when he's like afraid to go on there, and they're like, "Are you sure you're okay?" And he's like, "Does it need doing?" And he's like, "Yep." He's like, "It'll get done then." I love that, just like a little conversation. I thought it was great.
Yeah, there's been a lot of really great dialogue, tons of really memorable character moments, which is really, to me, what makes a comic book. You got to have the character moments where someone shines, where someone makes an impact on you, like the Daredevil and Wolverine scene in this last one, got me a little emotional. I had to stop there. I couldn't keep reading. Got to compose myself. Like, that's pretty rough. That's a good page. Because it stops you in your tracks and you have to think about it. So I think it's been that in itself has been great, because there's you know, there's an emotional investment that you don't. I haven't really had in X-Men.
I don't think Marvel's
Yeah.
ever going to let go of Hickman after this. I think that they have to keep him there.
Well, they shouldn't.
Oh, he'd already said in that interview that he said
He's
that,
going to
you know,
DC.
we're going to have an X-Men. He's going to have an X-Men run there that's going to rival Claremont in size and scope. So 10
Well,
years.
I mean, like even beyond his X-Men, like they'd be fools to let someone like him ever leave. Like just give him all the money he needs, because they're going to be basing X-Men movies off this run for the next 30 years. Like you're going to see a watered down version of this on screen in some form.
I think that sooner than you think. I believe that Feige and them have kind of gotten wind of it and the direction that he's going with this, and maybe that's kind of why they're holding off on the X-Men on the big screen, is because they're wanting to kind of implement a lot of this going forward into the cinematic universe for X-Men.
So I read an interview with Hickman.
Have.
I read an interview with Hickman where he said he grew up on DC Comics and X-Men, and the only reason that he came back to Marvel was because that he could have complete control of the X-Men, and when he's done telling his story, he's going to DC because he wants to write Fourth World, Teen Titans, and there was another one.
Oh, I'd love to see him on Teen Titans.
I think Legion of Superheroes, wasn't it?
I think you might be correct. So if I were Marvel, I'd give him the EIC job personally once he's, you know, in another year or so.
I'd just throw money at him. I'd be like, I'll do whatever I can to keep you away from DC, because
as a DC fan, I hope he goes there.
Yeah.
Well, the problem that they're going to run into is the same problem that they ran into with shortly before he finished Secret War, which was they wanted to keep him. They wanted to keep him back then. He just said no. It didn't matter what kind of money they threw at him. It didn't matter what kind of guarantees they threw at him. It didn't matter what offers for what titles they basically gave him carte blanche to pick whatever he wanted, and he just said, "No, I wanna go do my creator-owned thing and work by myself for a while. I don't want to have to deal with editorial oversight and working for corporate comics."
I followed his Twitter for the last 3 years, and he had a line before X-Men, but I didn't know what he was talking about, and he said, "Okay, fine, I'll fix everything, Marvel."
Yeah. And so he left and was just gone. He wanted to go do his, so it didn't matter. He may end up in a situation where he feels worn out by everything he spent. He spends the next 3 or 4, 2 years fixing, or however the hell long he's on X-Men. He may feel burned out by that and just be like, you know what? Nope, I'm dipping.
I've heard it's a 3-year plan, but money talks.
Yeah. Sure. And he may be like, okay, you can back the money truck up all you want, but I'm still not signing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's really rejuvenated Marvel. Like, I get in my comments all the time. People are talking, hey, my friends that quit reading comics 2 years ago, they won't stop talking to me about X-Men now. Every Thursday, that's all they want to talk about. So I think this is and I know, Paley, you said, you have people that you haven't seen in years coming into your comic shop now.
Yeah. There are people that are coming in the shop now that I don't know that because I bought the shop from someone else. They owned it, and then I became a partner, and then they decided to sell out to me. And when they stopped coming around buying comics, I didn't even know them, and they're coming back in, and they're going, "Well, where's so and so?" Well, he's no longer the owner here. I'm the owner, and they're like, "Oh, okay. I haven't been here since 2005." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "But I heard that, but they're like, but I've heard that the new X-Men is really good." So it's that I'm getting that a lot. So Yeah, that's a testament right there. They can bring, if Hickman can bring people back to the comic book shops and maybe repair some of the damage that the horrible writers have done. You know, that's a feather in his cap for sure.
Look,
Mhm.
I'll be straight. Marvel needs X-Men to be strong. I don't care what they do with Avengers. I don't care what they do with Fantastic Four. I don't care what they do with Iron Man or Cap or any of these other ones. If the X-Men is not their marquee title next to Spider-Man,
Mhm.
Marvel is screwed.
It should be above though because there's so many. It's such a great ensemble, and like
Oh, yeah,
Spider-Man can fight the Lizard, but
It's
you can't get that epic with Spider-Man. He's always kind of jokey.
Yeah. X-Men is a universe inside of its own universe.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's the Marvel universe, but it's 1.A, 1.0A.
Yeah.
You know, it's an addendum to the Marvel universe and not specifically, part of the whole rest of the story.
I mean, look, X-Men speaks to people in a way that none of their other titles do. It's just not. It will draw in readers. It can carry their line. Avengers can't. It's never been that book that could really carry their line. Neither could, Spider-Man can, but Fantastic Four was their start, but it was kind of their prototype for really what the X-Men perfected with that family dynamic and the kind of being less about the superhero-y part and more about the soap opera, but with a much, 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 much larger cast.
Yeah.
And so
Avengers doesn't have anything on the level of what X-Men has done in the past. Not even close.
Avengers has I would say Avengers has events that are huge and massive in scope, but day to day, month to month, issue to issue writing, Avengers can fall off the map. It's like, okay, well, this is going on. Yeah, it's no big deal. And then they'll have a big event that'll draw people in and read it, but it's not a consistent month in, month out, affair. Whereas X-Men is, Spider-Man is. And as long as your X-Men and your Spider-Man is strong and you're doing well month in and month out, then Marvel can succeed. If they don't, then Marvel will not succeed.
I may come off like and I don't mean to, but like almost like a Spider-Man. I don't mean to downplay him, but he doesn't have even 1/10 the amount of classic stories as X-Men does. Like he has Kraven's Last Hunt. He has that one where he lifted up the vault, and he has Venom.
Spider-Man.
You've got Death of Gwen Stacy. You've got
Death of James the Wolf.
Maybe it's just the scope that I'm looking at, where there's just the scope is so much smaller. You're still a guy.
Oh yeah.
So is Batman.
Well, that's kind of the point of Spider-Man, though, is that he's just a guy.
But it sells because people like that simplicity. But I think it's the opposite for the X-Men, where people don't like simplicity.
No.
Who like X-Men.
They don't, and that's you're kind of appealing to almost two different groups.
Yeah, ASM is for people that like the personal individual drama. That they like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. They like the fact that he's he used to be just a kid, with superpowers and he was a smartass. And and it was the comedy and stuff like that involved with it. And whereas with X-Men, it's like we have this complicated plot going on with lots of many moving parts, and it's all counterbalanced against a backdrop of everything else in the world, how they're influencing the world and how the world is influencing them. Whereas with Spider-Man, it's none of that, but it has two distinctly different fan bases, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that the people of Spider-Man wouldn't appreciate X-Men.
That's true.
They're complementary to each other by being so different.
But
they cover the spectrum, so to speak.
And I guess what my main point here was, as long as you have those two titles as the tent pole, you can, if you keep building them real high, you can really make a huge tent under which a lot of other things have the chance to grow.
Yeah.
But when Amazing Spider-Man and X-Men, you just need those two as your tent poles. Avengers can be, a good support pole. Fantastic Four can be a good support pole. But those two are what you build your company around. Yeah. And everything else kind of falls underneath. And it will also strengthen the rest of the industry at the same time.
Yeah. Other titles can come in and take the mantle of that third pole from time to time. But, as long as
right now.
You can, something can step in and be really, really big for a while. But as long as you have those two main, your ASM and your X-Men, that can bolster everything else and allow other things to come in and gain importance and then drift away. That was the problem when you had X-Men Gold, Blue, Red, blah, blah, blah. You fragmented that pole, and it, the tent about almost fell in on Marvel.
Yeah.
All right, so Doc, where are you now? I know you're interested in the book, but you're not ready to commit. Are you ready to commit to Hickman's X-Men moving forward after Hawks and Pox?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting close. I really am.
Oh, he is. He's just full of crap.
I love what an X-Men purist he is.
Okay. Here's the thing. Here is what I'm feeling comfortable on. I'm feeling much more comfortable on the adjectiveless title that Hickman's going to be doing.
Yep.
And New Mutants that Hickman and then Brisson are doing.
I'm not buying that one. I don't like the roster.
Yeah, that's the whole reason I'm not buying it.
I think it's going to be important. I really do. I think that's going to be the most important non-Hickman book.
Yeah,
I agree.
He said he was writing the first story arc because there's things that are happening in it that are very important that he needs to get right.
Yes, and I'm gonna buy Fallen Angels just because I buy everything that Brian Hill writes. And I'm on the verge of signing up for X-Force because I really like the roster except for Black Tom.
I don't like Omega Kid or Kid Omega, whatever his name is, but I'm with you.
And I've even though I have literally
he's kind of a schlocky. Isn't that the one with the pink mohawk?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a schlocky Grant Morrison character.
Yeah.
No Shatterstar?
No.
So, hey, but do you like podcasts? Do you like
sometimes.
Do you like spoken stories? Ben Percy, the writer of X-Force, has two podcasts. They're 10-issue stories of Wolverine. First one's called The Long Night.
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah.
And then he also has another one that's coming out right now. So you might be a Ben Percy fan. I like him a lot. His run on Nightwing was awesome.
I literally
Ben Percy, right? Benjamin Percy.
Yeah. That's why I'm excited for X-Force because he's behind it.
Are the Wolverine stories good? You like those?
I read the first one. I actually got the comic that they released for it. It was pretty good. It was like Wolverine was kind of a secondary character in the book. It's more about like the town, the people itself, and Wolverine's kind of like just there, but it's still really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like setting him up in like a bad situation where he has to come out of, he's probably laying low, and then he has to, all right, I've had enough. I'm going to start being Wolverine now, right?
Sort of. It's like a mystery, and people think that Wolverine might be the one that's behind what's going on in this like small Alaskan town. So that's why Wolverine's kind of in the background. So the story's sort of about him, but he's in the background. I still need to find the final issue. I got all except for the final issue, but I haven't been able to find it yet. I might just have to go to eBay and get it. But from what I read, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Sounds cool.
It's a good story.
I just have no idea who the guy is. So, I mean, I've heard, hey, he wrote this and this and this. I'm like, okay, well, I've never read any of those things. So
I do know that he wrote a garbage Green Arrow series that was in Rebirth with great art, but terrible to read.
Yeah, he got too obsessed with Emiko. That's what pissed me off
Heretic.
about that. I enjoyed
That
like
was a
the
great-
first
that-
arc, and then
That was
after
a great
that,
Green Arrow story.
I thought he did good in the beginning, and then he got too obsessed with Emiko. That's what pissed me off. Was like it became less of a Green Arrow book and
Have you-
more of like Green Arrow and Friends.
Ugh.
It's a DC thing right now, isn't it? But
I wanna
that's
see-
been since- that's been the Green Arrow book. Arrow and Friends has been the book since Kevin Smith.
I either want Mike Grell's version where he's shooting arrows at coke dealers or nothing. That's it. Like I want him to be a street level, just badass.
Well, you
all right, Doc.
are literally living in the 80s. You're like
I would love to go back there if somebody could.
All right,
I'd have-
hey, Doc,
I'd have
so
good
what about
music.
the other two series? Are you on board Marauders and Excalibur yet? We're about to wrap up.
No. I there is exactly zero chance I will purchase anything with Tinny Howard's name on it.
So bad.
And once again, I literally can't tell the difference between Jerry Dugan and Cullen Dunn, and I'm absolutely certain they are the same person.
I thought they were Jim Zub.
Wait, I thought Cullen Bunn or Jerry Dugan was doing the other one.
No, I'm just saying Jim Zub, Cullen Dunn, Jerry Duggan, they're all the same person.
Yeah, well, actually, you know what? I've never really
Talent
confused
boy.
Jim Zup for Bun Dugan.
They're all boring.
Yeah, but regardless, whichever one it is, whichever one of the vanilla people that it is, I have no interest in buying that either. And there is less than zero chance I may actually just set the comic store on fire when Vita Ayala and Leah Williams get their book.
Yeah, so I will be reviewing every #1 of the Dawn of X, but I'm only planning on the X-Men, X-Force, and
Fallen
Angels. Now, if any of the other ones end up being really good, I'll buy them as well. But I know, Dylan, you said you hadn't really been an X-Men reader for a while. Are you planning to dive into the Dawn of X books once Hawks and Pox are over?
I'll read the main X-Men book and X-Force. Everything else, I don't know. I'm saying with you on New Mutants to where I like the creative team, but the roster just doesn't do it for me. It's like I'm not interested in those characters at all. To where X-Force, I like the roster for the most part, and Percy's pretty solid, so I think it'll be good. And I'm hoping we get another good X-Force book. Because I really liked Rick Remender's X-Force that he did like 10 years ago. I thought that was pretty good. So I'm hoping X-Force is good. And the stuff Hickman's been saying about his X-Men book sounds interesting. How it's going to be like contained stories, like for like each issue is going to be sort of like a one shot. So that sounds interesting. See how it goes. But yeah, I'll dive into those two books. But besides that, I don't think I'm going to read any others.
Yeah, that sucks with the New Mutants because Ed Brisson has literally written the only like really good X-Men story the past 5 years. Was it Extermination?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the only one.
Where's Sabretooth going to be? Because I really liked that last issue where he was in the courtroom just laughing at everybody like a thug. And I was just like, this is awesome. I haven't seen Sabretooth written this well in forever.
When Emma Frost put that chick in her place, too, that was great.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
Well, Sabretooth's been kind of borderline kind of a wimp ever since Axis.
Yeah.
Because
I like how he's like, I'm not a good man. He's like licking his lips and he's just like, if I have a chance, I'm gonna rip your throat out. Doesn't he tell the judge that he's gonna take his insides and put them on the outside?
Yeah.
Like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap this up, we got another panel member.
Did a good save.
Bats, you're kind of swearing off the big titles. Have we convinced you to give X-Men a chance? Oh.
A big X-Men fan because I've been out of the spectrum that Pele talked about. And so when it comes to Marvel, if there's no good Spider-Man, there's no good Marvel for me. So, and I'm just completely not interested in Spider-Man fighting the Feminist Six. No interest in that whatsoever.
Well, you also have Abrams'
So,
Family
that's the
Spider-Man.
ending.
You want to see
So,
him fight General
all around,
Grievous?
I thought,
Xenomorphs.
Yeah, but what if the Feminist Six all
Yeah,
get
I'm-
on the
I'm
same
okay.
cycle? What
I
about
don't need
that
to
issue?
blend-
Oh my God, the
Like-
world would end.
Dude, there's like 7 lens flares on the cover.
that will. I hope that less
One's
would
coming from an
cover-
eye that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm totally square off Marvel. Like the modern classic that is Life Story. I thought was pretty much a load of issue 2. So I pretty much dropped that and didn't get issue 6.
It did not
So-
finish well.
I'm good.
It was not strong in the finish. No.
Last 3 issues were pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
I
weak.
thought I liked the first. I like issues, and 3 was bad, 4 was bad, 5 was worse, and I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I don't need it at the end. I don't know if that happens, but that's my speculation.
I don't think so. I flipped through it and it just looked like he retired or something. But I
That's
don't.
not
I
what
don't.
Well, that's even.
I mean, maybe he died.
He was
I was just flipping through it. I didn't spend a lot
He
of
was
time on it.
retired through. He was retired through the majority. His clone do all the work. So it was just I'm okay off. I'm okay off Marvel right now.
There's also hinted that
There's,
he's slapping his kids around and his wife.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
was that really?
and then
Yeah. There's a picture of him where he's got
and
like
then
a
a lot of
clenched
people
fist.
say that
His
wasn't the
family's
thing.
like cowering.
Yeah, the imagery is that like his forearm is blacked out with the white silhouette around it, and he's like got a clenched fist, and then all 3 of his family are like this,
Yeah, they're like,
Oh
like,
God.
and I'm like, and they're like, not again or something. Please don't do this anymore
So,
to us. Daddy,
Stan
please
Lee.
stop
So Stan
being
Lee
this person."
dies, and
I'm
this
like,
is what
yeah,
you get right
I'm
after.
totally square off Peter Parker being a butthole. Yeah, exactly.
all right,
You
it's
know,
time to
like-
wrap this up. I think we talked about
So
comic
I'm
books enough.
totally good off Marvel. I've never.
All right, let's do our recommendations. Bats, you're on a tape delay, so we're going to start with you.
Definitely go pick up Spawn 300 and been around like $2.94 and get those back issues of that entire story.
Absolutely, $3 each.
Fantastic. Yeah, they're all $3, or just wait till the trade. But definitely go pick up Spawn 300. And I'm also gonna recommend Militia, even though I haven't read it yet. It's by Chuck Dixon. I think Chuck Dixon is gold. So those are my recommendations.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Dylan, thank you so much for joining us today. You're a great guest. We love having you on the show. Tell us which Brian Michael Bendis Superman book these people should be reading.
None of them. Don't read any of them. But as far as books that people should be reading right now, Old Man Quill's been really solid. I think it's another great entry from Ethan Sachs into the Old Man universe. Old Man Quill's been really solid. We had a reveal 3 issues ago about something I won't spoil if no one's been reading it. But it's been a really good, fun book. Punisher's actually been pretty good. It's nothing like groundbreaking, but it's been pretty fun with Punisher versus Kingpin and Zemo in New York, and it's going to be ending soon. I think Rosenberg's getting off the book. I don't know what they're going to be doing with Punisher, but it's been doing pretty good. Then, of course, House of X, Powers of X, and Doomsday Clock are all great, but I think most people are already reading those.
Mm-hmm. Also, Tevye Smoker, a friend of the channel and likely a guest next week. I think we're going to work to get him on. He highly recommends Spawn 300, House of X, Birthright, and Amazing Spider-Man. Thank you very much. Also, if you're still watching and you want to give us your recommendations, go right ahead in the channel, and I'll get them up on the screen. All right, who's next? Lance, what do you recommend this week?
Well, I know you're expecting me to recommend something off the beaten path, so I got this bad boy, the Savage Sword Omnibus, and this is just amazing. And it starts out with a 15-page introduction written by Roy Thomas about the whole backstory. It's got Red Nails in it, the greatest Conan story ever, written or drawn by Barry Windsor Smith. His finest hour as an artist, in my opinion. And then it's got another 1,000 pages of John Buscema, inked by Alfredo Alcala. And in my opinion, that's the best Buscema art on Conan, even better than Ernie Chan. So give it a look. If it doesn't hurt your wallet too much, you'll love it. You'll come back to it. You'll read it again.
All right. From the chats, we got Isila Dog recommending Valiant Omnibus of Archer and Armstrong by Barry Windsor Smith, king size, 92 to 93 comic books by Shooter and Barry Windsor Smith. All good recommendations, my friend. All right, who's next? Doc, what are you recommending this week?
I'm recommending 3 things.
Nice.
One, that you drop Antonio Brown from your fantasy football league because he just got cut by the fucking Raiders. And yeah.
Too late. I picked him in my $75 league. Too late.
I'm also recommending directly to Antonio Brown, save your money, man. You just lost all your guaranteed bonuses.
30 million.
But so my first real comic recommendation, though, obviously House of X, Powers of X, Batman White Knight, and X-Men from about issue 190 to, let's go with about 210. Uncanny. Yeah.
Nimrod. Yep.
Nimrod and
Trial of Magneto.
Yep. Trial of Magneto, Baby Cable, depowered Storm versus Cyclops for leadership of the team. And it does not go nearly as Aurora basically kicks his ass. It's great.
And Rachel Summers as the Phoenix.
Yep.
Nice. All right, is that it? That's what you got, Doc?
Yeah, that's what I got.
All right, FF2, friend of the channel and regular commenter on my videos, great guy. He's recommending House of X, Powers of 10, Curse of the White Knight, Doomsday Clock, Batman and the Outsiders, and Superman Died Tomasi. All great books. Lance is also throwing in White Knight in the end. All right, Paley, what are you recommending from the store?
The store's recommendation for the week was Spawn 300, and boy, did it deliver! And people bought it. It so far it's been the #1 selling comic of the year. I don't see really much anything in the future. It's going to be dethroning it. I mean, just the sheer numbers for an $8 book are just staggering. It probably won't. Yeah, I mean, nationwide it's going to be different. You know, some stores are just not going to be carrying Spawn to that degree. But anyway, that's the Spawn 300 was the store's pick. My pick, Hawks and Pox. Definitely need to be reading House of X, Powers of X. Also, Immortal Hulk is winding up for the 25th issue. So issue 23 came out this week, and it's good. This cover for 24 looks like it's going to be really amazing. Very different as far as from other comic covers I've seen. But it's still cranking it out. It's not really dropped in quality. It's just that with Powers of X and House of X, Hickman pouring on so hard that normal Ewing is not is kind of dethroned it. It's not really that Immortal Hulk's gotten worse. It's just that the X titles are so good that they've kind of dethroned him. Marvel is a great place to look into right now, as long as you're careful of the usual suspects. A lot of stuff from Marvel is just really good right now. Doomsday Clock, of course, you might get the last issue next year. It just is what it is. It's sad, but it's true. Yeah, that's basically. Oh yeah, White Knight, definitely White Knight. That I've not read it yet. I'm probably going to wait and save all the issues to read them at once. So, but
all right, folks, there you got it from Pele. My recommendations this week: Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 issue 5, Die number 7, and Space Bandits number 3 from Mark Miller. That's going to be a Netflix show from Miller World, and it's been one of the better comic books I've actually read this year. It's kind of under the radar, but it's really good. All right, so that just about does it. We're ready to sign off. Do we think that Bats is still with us, or is he frozen?
I think he's
gone.
He froze.
Yeah, I think Bats is done, but he has his own YouTube channel, Sergeant Bats. You can also follow him on Twitter at Sergeant Bats. He's a great guy, really funny. He's the spiritual successor to Diversity in Comics, and yeah, you should all be checking him out and subbing to his channel. He's awesome. So, Dylan, thank you so much for joining us once again. Where can people follow you, my friend?
The Real Comic Book Gamer on YouTube, and then _RCPG on Twitter and Twitch.
By the way, I really enjoy your channel. Your videos are top notch.
Thank you.
Enjoy your stuff. It's very, very good.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now that you moved, you're getting to do more videos and stuff now, right?
And now that Superman 14 Action Comics 1014 came out, I got to reread all of Bendis' run for a video.
I've really enjoyed watching your cat and dog. I've enjoyed watching your cat and dog play in the background during the whole
They've been
video.
going around everywhere. They're going nuts right now.
That's 34 issues of pain. You're gonna go through all that to make a
Yeah,
video?
I gotta do it. I gotta read it all at once, otherwise I'll forget. I've already forgotten stuff that happens. Just like try to ignore the pain.
That's so
like-
bad.
Ooh,
Sadist.
it's like a proctology exam.
It's rough.
All right. So Serious Killmonger is asking who would win, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, Green Lantern versus Hell King Spawn. Who wants to take that one? Lance, that sounds like a Lance question.
Taking on Hell King Spawn?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what Hell King Spawn is.
Yeah, I have no clue about how King
So
Spawn.
I can't comment on this.
Spawn at the peak of his power, and Spawn would spank them like little children.
Oh, okay.
All
Yeah.
right. It was a Pele question. My apologies. Lance seemed like he might have been the man for that one. Sergeant Bat says StreamYard is under trash. I couldn't disagree more. This app is way better than what I was using before. All right. So we've done Dylan. Who else needs to say goodbye? Lance, have you said goodbye yet?
Signing off. You can follow me at Rio Lance Man on Twitter, and hope to chat with some of you.
Awesome. All right, Doc. Where can people find you if they want to talk X-Men?
Either back here every Saturday morning, or you can just find me on Twitter at ScienceJesus, and I am almost always talking X-Men.
And you might find him jumping a velvet rope and kissing a Stanley Cup also.
Yeah.
Stanley sipping up.
Don't kiss it after he has. God, do not now. Do not. No telling what you'll get.
He was at the script club.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah. Ooh. That was the strip club was last weekend, and that was a little. Ooh.
Yeah, but some things don't go away with just a little disinfectant, man.
Yeah, they're really hot, nice fake everything, and meth teeth. Why? Why did it have to be ruined like that? But
no.
So now I'm off to go and I'm gonna eat something, and then I gotta
go to the hospital, my friend.
And he's got to go get a shot.
No, I gotta
go
go
antibiotic.
I gotta go take another groundhog to the park and release it because I just caught another one.
Awesome.
I don't know what you're
I thought it was a euphemism for something.
No, literally, I caught another groundhog.
Sure.
Strip club.
All right.
Yeah.
Pele, where can people find you? And also, Pele is a great resource if you need information on what you should be paying for back issues or maybe what's going to be hot, and he always has suggestions. If you look him up, if you hit him up on Twitter, he's very free with the information and very generous with his knowledge.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at just_Pele. And yeah, Twitter, comic books. We talk about back issues. I also talk about some politics because I get a little feisty on that stuff. But at Instagram, rather, just_Pele. And that's mostly all comics. I talk about new acquisitions for the shop. And show some photos of some hotkeys that come in. But yeah, you can find me at those places. And like Wes said, if you have any questions about any back issues, any valuation, any gradings, anything about grading or anything like that, just let me know. I'll do the best I can.
Awesome. Of course, you can find me right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. Also on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. I just put up a Doomsday Clock number 11 review. There's a couple of House of X number 4 videos I've got right now. And then look for a special stream on Tuesday with a couple of special guests where we're going to be talking some industry stuff. So busy week here on the channel. And thank you all for joining us. It's been a great time. Sorry we had some comms issues to begin with. Bats had echo. He froze on us. But we made it work, and hopefully Dylan will be back on the channel soon when we're talking Superman or something else.
Yeah.
And Salamat Po, I'm out.
And
Later, y'all.
We dancing.
It's time to dance.